Welcome, Ultras and Switchy Sisters alike, to episode 19 of the weekly episodic gaming adjacent livestream podcast show. This is Switch to Ultra, back on Mondays forever and always. We had a very exciting episode last week where we mostly just shot the shit over the re-release of Mario Paint on Nintendo Switch Online, meaning we really have 2 weeks worth of lackluster directs, a new Mario game, 2 major tournaments, and even more Smash Bros. Arguments. Welcome to the Switch to Ultra family. I'm your co-parent, BH Ultra.
And I am your co-parent, Switchy.
I saw Weapons and I thought it was good, but not as good as Sinners. Switchy, I know it's been a while, but did you end up watching the Nintendo Partner Showcase from a week back?
I actually didn't tune in.
I don't blame you. I didn't wake up for it, I can tell you that much. I've learned my lesson by now.
I've never made a habit out of watching them. I guess because the idea is that, I mean, admittedly, I'm my favorite stuff is usually Nintendo.
Yeah.
So that's why I'll tune into the main directs, but it's primarily just for the stuff at the start and end, the big new announcements. Otherwise, I mean, the idea of just a bunch of indie games being kind of shown off for the Nintendo Switch, I mean, not to diss indie developers, but that's not the kind of thing that has my butt sat, my butt sat for just the possibility of something that'll interest me. I figure, if anything's really cool, I'll find out about it eventually. So I've never really, been super into the indie directs and stuff.
Yeah, well, that's the main takeaway. Well, there were 2 directs. It seems like it could have just been one direct with these 2 scrunched together. One is a partner showcase, which means larger third-party developers, and then one is an indie showcase. One is 27 minutes, 28 minutes, and one is 15 minutes. So you could have had a full direct still without any Nintendo announcements. But it's not even particularly that there are no Nintendo games, which there aren't, obviously, but it's more so that there aren't any exclusives to begin with. I looked over the list. I mean, we'll just show it in the background here for both the partner showcase and the indie showcase, that I think there's only one Switch 2 exclusive that is coming out or will be out soon. There are other games that they announced, the partner showcase and the indie direct, for the most part, is just announcing games that are already out or we already know about. So that's the thing, is that it's less about them being third party or indie games and more about them there's no breaking news here. And even stuff that could have been interesting and really stand out to people, like something like a Silk Song or a Deltarune, we saw that they would have just been announced in a normal Nintendo Direct anyway.
Yeah, precisely. And that's why, never really going out of my way just for the chance to see it. It's interesting because whenever there's a new Nintendo hype cycle, I guess with the new console or whatever, or a new Smash Bros. Game, you do hear a lot more people outwardly complain about the partner showcases and indie stuff. I don't even think Nindies is the term they use anymore. And I think it's just people kind of getting into Nintendo hype and speculation for the first time and not really knowing for sure when and where stuff actually gets announced. Because yeah, they've never done a Smash Bros. Character at a Nindies thing, because that's kind of not the time they do it. This is not really much of a thing that I think core fans are maybe actually it is for core fans, but these kinds of things aren't really for the live reactions and crazy hype announcements. It's just kind of, they need to announce this stuff somewhere. So that's
do you
how
remember
they do
back in the day when there was an upcoming indies or a Nindies direct or something, and there was not a lot of people, but a subsect, a fringe organization, thought that they were gonna announce Shantae for Smash Bros. During the indie direct? It's oh, they're gonna do it here because that's an indie character.
It's I don't know about that, especially because there wasn't already a culture of people watching those things just for the chance at Smash Bros. News. That's just not a thing I think they would ever want to risk on their less popular streams, because we know what a Nintendo Direct is. I'm pretty sure they haven't announced a character for Smash Bros. Outside of a Nintendo Direct since 2013, when they showed off the Wii Fit trainer during E3, but not during
cool.
a Direct. Yeah, I kind of wish they did that for Smash Ultimate. I remember being a little bit disappointed that they basically just showed off what they had for Smash Ultimate during the original presentation, and there wasn't anything else that was that gripping that they showed off, outside of that.
Yeah, to me, it didn't make much of a difference because I was just, as far as I was concerned, the character was revealed on Game Explain. I didn't even know it was shown on a side thing. We already had the footage in full HD. But something we're noticing here during this direct is they're making the differentiating like factor of being like, oh, if it has a Switch 1 logo or a Switch 2 logo, that's what it's coming out for. But a lot of these games are either exclusively coming out of the Nintendo Switch 1 or just coming out on both. And this is I think the only major release for this partner showcase, or the only major announcement, which is this Katamari game. And Katamari is one of those characters that, oh yeah, chat saying Joker was revealed at the Game Awards, and so was Sephiroth.
Oh yeah, you're right, my bad.
Those are the only ones.
Sephiroth was the Game Awards?
Yeah.
You're right. Now
because those are good examples of things you...
I just don't know what I'm talking about.
Well, it's sort of like getting disappointed for a Direct, where every year you come back around to the Game Awards. I'm like, oh boy, I'm so excited for the Game Awards. Big stuff always happens here. And then you watch like the 5 hours of the Game Awards and you're like, oh, right. I forgot.
Yeah,
it's
this
the Game
sucks.
Awards.
This is, like,
it's mostly
miserable.
ads. But it's not the ads I care about, damn it. But I was never a Katamari fan. Over the years of streaming and just being a more known person on the internet, it's been a rough transition, honestly, to go immediately becoming someone that is like I wouldn't say important, but like, you know, there's no real rule book on it. I'm trying to navigate things, but I've done my best, like in my adult ages, to try and get into other series that I know other people like, or expand my horizons. And more often than not, that is just like Nintendo games and then like other adjacent speculation where it's like, oh, I'm familiar. I understand that this is a big thing, but I don't have the same like, oh, Katamari fan, like
Never got into it. I think I might have like played a section of a game at like a friend's house or something, but it definitely wasn't extensive.
Yeah.
You know, looks like a cool series. I mean, I like the artistic direction of it.
I don't know if on the last podcast I christened it this, or if I didn't say it yet, but this is the first thing I thought once I finished this partner showcase. And again, I did not wake up for it. People were asking me if I was going to wake up and stream it, and I was like, no fucking way am I going to do that. I barely wanted to. I didn't do it for the Pokemon Presents even, and I like Pokemon, but this is what I like to call a coworker direct, because it's full of your Just Dances, your Maddens, your like FIFAs, and I think that's really interesting, because I can't imagine the kind of people that would play those casual games, if we want to call them casual games, on the Switch would even bother watching directs. Maybe more people watch directs than I think.
I doubt they would watch the directs, to be honest. Like, that seems a little bit out of... I mean, honestly, that's why it feels like the only things people ever say about directs are complaints, because I don't know. I mean, you know, people's attention is pretty sparing. I mean, we only have so much time. So the idea that a lot of people are gonna, you know, be that thrilled to watch a live broadcast just announcing that the new Madden's gonna be on the Switch is a little egregious. I don't think that's actually gonna happen. So I guess that's why no one really watches these things, or at least whoever watches these things expecting like some big Nintendo news always ends up disappointed, because it's not really what they do here.
I think the only reason these specifically, this Indie Direct and these Partner Showcase, are a point of contention are people complaining. Well, one, like, Directs are just a social event. Like, it's become a part of the brand's identity, and every gaming brand's identity. And not just gaming, but with like movie trailers as well. It's not enough to sell you on the product. Now it's a social event where you film your reaction, or you gather people around to watch announcements. And I'm not gonna, like, you know, be cynical about this and be like, consumer, because I like doing it. You know, we like reacting to directs. I find it really fun and engaging. It's interesting that there's games like this, like Sparking Zero, that have a release date that isn't, oh, it's coming out right now. Like, the announcement is it's coming out later this year, when the game is already out. There's one game that they announced for like later this year. I think it's that one cat game, or maybe that's in the indie showcase, that came out like last year. Like, some of these games are from 2024. And I know it takes a while, and they were probably waiting for the Switch 2 to come out to release those games. But it seems so strange to do a number of those games where it's like a game that's already out. It's like, yeah, well, you could play it on your Switch in a couple months' time. But
or you can get it on Steam.
Yeah, that too. Or the Xbox Ally, something to think about. But I think
I already forgot that existed.
Yeah. Well, it doesn't, because it doesn't have. That's the thing with this, with the Partner Showcase and the Indie Direct. We can go up and down and talk about gaming as a digital medium and Game Pass, and how just access to everything and ease of access, and Steam trumps all, and everything is a gaming service and no longer a gaming console. But in the business of selling consoles, exclusives are the most important thing. Like, I think, sure, the mouse controls are cool sometimes, more graphical fidelity, the screen is bigger, it can play more powerful things. Sure. But at the end of the day, I buy a console to play a game. I bought a PS5 so I could play Astrobot, and I have yet to find another game I want to play that isn't Astrobot. I bought the Switch too so I could play Nintendo games, so I could play Mario Kart and Donkey Kong and a potential inevitable Smash Bros. And we'll talk about that later as well. So seeing games that are already not even like out on other consoles, like, oh shit, this is an Xbox game on the Switch. Like, these are third-party games that are out on everything. I guess this is another announcement, the Pac-Man World Repack remake. I remember the first one, or the remake of Pac World 1, was in 2022. I played that on stream, and I had a fun time with it. And thinking back, like, I guess 22 to 25, like 3 years, isn't I was about to say isn't that long of a time, but for remakes, it probably is. Like, I doubt that the original Pac-Man World even had this much gap between them, because they were both, like, PlayStation games. Or PS2 games, maybe. It's interesting. I don't know how long. Especially if you're working on the same engine. And it's coming out on Switch 1 anyway.
That's a good point. I don't know. Maybe there's, like, more bells and whistles than we thought. But honestly, like... Actually, I might actually play this, because I remember at least one of the YouTubers I really liked as a kid, Fawful's Minion. I know he really likes Pac-Man World too.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
And this is that one game that was announced during the Sony presentation that has the Switch that you could switch between classic mode and modern mode, and it's more or less just like the same thing.
Mm-hmm.
We're gonna see a lot of this. It seems like a lot of the partner showcase were Square Enix games that are going for that 2D HD. And that's more towards the end of the Direct. But I think the reason there was contention about this Direct, and ultimately when you look back at hype, we kind of set ourselves up. I wasn't excited for this, but I think the general populace, it's not just a Direct or a partner showcase and an indie Direct in a bubble. It is the precipice of weeks of buildup of quote-unquote insiders or leakers saying, oh, there's going to be a Direct soon, and then other people saying, no, there's not. Or maybe there is. Is there a Direct soon? Is Persona 3 Reload coming to the Switch? Is that a big deal?
That's kind of cool. I mean, I kind of wish I got Persona 3 Reload on the Switch, but, you know, I'm not gonna pay another $70 for it. So
was it a PSP game? Those are the ones with the subtitles, right?
Well, the original Persona 3 was PlayStation 2. Then they made like a remake, kind of an enhanced edition on the PSP. Did I forget? I forget, because there's FES, which I think was also on the PS2. Then Portable, which was on the PSP, and then Reload, which was recent. That just came out. I guess I think came out last year on like.
Well,
PC
good news. Forget it came out last year. It's coming out October 2025 now. But I think that for weeks we had been saying, I was pretty adamant in the fact that, we do see Hyrule Warriors here. I guess that's something. It's a Nintendo thing, I know. For weeks have been saying, like, there's not going to be a Direct until at the least September, which isn't even that far away now that we're about halfway through August. We're about to be halfway through August, right? And our last major Direct was, what? It was in April? It was in March? I think it was April.
I think April.
It was like early April, and then the Nintendo Switch 1 Direct was late March. And normally they line up with, or they have been in previous years, February, June, September. Narrowing that down, that is winter, summer, I guess late winter, or maybe early spring. So let's say like that wing area, and then summer, and then autumn. Or fall. That it'll go in those areas. So I think that September is what we're shooting for. I'm standing by that. So I'm going to correct myself. Technically wasn't wrong. I mean, there was a Direct. The thing is, I think the insiders who potentially know information and are trying to leak that information out to people don't really care about the differentiation of like a traditional Direct and a partner showcase or an indie Direct. If they say, oh, Direct's coming up, and a lot of people are getting behind the idea like, oh shit, we're gonna get a major Direct now. Then they get a partner showcase. It's not like Nintendo told you anything. You can't, I mean, I'm not gonna tell people what they can and can't feel, but your disappointment is a little misguided because we didn't even know these were happening. You just believe they were happening because somebody on the internet said so. Shout out Nate the Hate or Nate Drake. But a lot of
I agree.
Yeah.
No, I agree. I was just like,
I agree. Treatler image. I guess I'm not disappointed because I wasn't excited. You know, I didn't expect there to be a Direct anyway. I do understand the desire to have one or the need for one because I think like Gamescom is coming up in a couple weeks and maybe Nintendo has a presence there. But
have they ever really done much for Gamescom though? I don't think
so.
They have. I
Maybe
don't
they'll
know.
just
I might
have
not know.
demos. I think there was a list of demos or a list of stuff that's going to be there, and one of them was Metroid Prime 4. And the more and more we don't know anything about this game or know the release date, because it's weird that they showed it on the Treehouse and they had people playing the demo. So people have played this game, but it's becoming
Yeah.
worrisome that we really don't know where it is or where it's going. So sure, we have the release date for Pokemon Legends ZA. You know, for better or for worse, Pokemon doesn't often delay their games, or if they do, we don't know about it. And I'm not super excited for that one. But Game Freak, Pokemon Company, is sort of its own entity, so they have that solid release date. But once that comes out, there are, I want to say multiple, but really only two Nintendo games, major Nintendo games, that being Kirby. And I guess now, let me go back a little bit. Did they show off a release date for that Hyrule Warriors game? Because that was one that's coming out later this year that we didn't have a release date for. It seems that what people want to know is what the big quote-unquote holiday game is going to be. What is the meat for the rest of the year? When is Kirby Air Riders coming out? And when is Metroid Prime 4 coming out? Do you have any reservations about Metroid coming out this year? Because I'm starting to get
Dude,
a little...
you might be right. I wouldn't be surprised if there's a hiccup. Either that, or potentially we might get like multiple like really cool games in the same month. Like they might, like for whatever reason, like Star Riders and Prime 4 just come out both in December or something.
Same week.
Which I guess I wouldn't mind, all things considered. But
yeah,
I don't know. I mean, you would think they'd want to space this stuff out more so than they have. So I mean, potentially there's been an issue, but I don't know. But I mean, there's still a lot of marketing and stuff. I mean, I'm not sure about games specifically, but we do know that essentially like the film's budget for production is often like doubled in terms of marketing. So there's I don't know, like the amount of logistics involved in just kind of promoting a new video game or new movie is a lot.
Well, with movies, it's ridiculous. Now we just like see a logo and it's like, oh, this movie's in development, slated to release in 2028. As far as we've seen this so many times and so many films get canceled. If I don't see a trailer in the theaters, I have to assume the movie doesn't exist. And
well, that's a whole other thing, and that's one thing I kind of like about games is that we don't do this announcing 3 years in advance shit anymore. You know what I mean?
We don't have that MCU slate. There are some companies that do that. I'm glad we're finally coming up on GTA 6 because I remember when it was just like, oh, we're working on it. Like, they didn't say anything other than that. Like, oh, we're trying. When did they show off the Elder Scrolls 6 PNG logo? That was like...
I forget.
That was E3 like 2018 or 2019 or something, right?
Wait, really? Oh,
I think so. Maybe 2020, but there was no Evo then. Or sorry, not Evo, E3. I mean, there's no E3 at all anymore. But these development cycles and budgets are ballooning so much that even something as simple as, say, a Pac-Man World remake can also take 3 years.
Mm-hmm.
I think earlier, like right before this podcast went, or before we went live, that this isn't the movie being announced way ahead of time, but it was delayed. The new Shrek movie that we had the teaser for earlier this year that everyone was freaking out about, which, you know, to me looked fine. It's now coming out in like June 2027, I think, as opposed to December 26.
Oh God.
Yeah.
That's why I don't give a shit. You know, it's like I remember as a kid, in like 2013 or something. I'm probably getting the years wrong, but I remember like finding out that like Finding Dory was coming out in 2016, and I kind of thought like, I don't give a fuck.
I can't
it's
wait
like,
that long.
Cool. Yeah. Finding Dory when I'm like 14, when I'm like when I'm like being pushed around in a wheelchair covered in gray hairs. Like it's so meaningless to me. You know what I mean? It's like I don't want it to ever be 2016. So just being told that like this movie's coming out then just kind of sucks to hear.
Yeah, especially looking back on 2016, it's like you knew something we didn't. You knew it was going to be a bad year.
It's like, no, I saw it all coming.
I really hate the romanticization of 2016, 2017. I mean, that's what it is.
It really just shows how you know, anything before now, we just kind of remember all the good stuff.
Yeah, childhood.
That's literally the year Donald Trump got elected, and everyone's pretending that it was like the most like a lovely year. I mean, I guess, you know, everything's relative and stuff.
Something to think about.
And yeah,
He's really pushing
I
back
guess,
against the
some
grain.
people miss the kind of like, I don't know. I'll totally admit it. I do kind of miss being in like early high school in a new video with like Filthy Frank and iDubbbz and Max or whatever, like eating like vomit cake or whatever came out.
Mm-hmm.
There is like a certain kind of mentality I had back then that I sort of miss,
You
but
miss being a
I don't
kid.
know. I think people really it occurred to me. I think I've talked about this before, is that whenever I hear people complain about like the new KSI Aiden Ross whatever beef, I kind of have to ask myself, is this what the H3H3 Leafy is here beef sounded like to older people back when that shit was happening to me and I gave a
Right.
shit about it? You know what I mean?
It's the equivalent of
I think a lot
MLG
of
just
this,
being brain rot. Like they're the same thing, more or less.
it's like, yeah, that's why. So I guess there is like a certain amount of nostalgia I have, but at the same time, we're you know, uh there's a lot of things sucked back then and a lot of things suck now. And
Right. You're always. I mean,
I don't
that's what
know.
nostalgia is. You're just gonna romanticize the best
Yeah.
parts of it. But this game, "Chillin' by the Fire," which I thought when I watched the partner showcase, I'm like, oh, this is the port of that one Steam game where you're like all those a quote unquote friend slop game. I love that term. I know it's reductive. There's a lot of terms that are reductive, but they're so useful. We were talking
It's just like
earlier before the pod started about the Homestuck has been thing, or the Homestuck indie pilot or pilot announcement, which is a strange idea, and how so many people just got into the show or the property Homestuck just because the character designs were really cool. And the other term that is reductive, hype moments and aura, I feel like is so useful for character designs that are really good, but characters that don't do anything other than look cool. Like that is a very easy portmanteau.
And also actually speaking of the hype moments and aura thing, I think it also does kind of demonstrate well the folly of TV shows and stuff in general. I think often not very rewatchable TV shows. And I think a good example, I was talking with my friend a couple weeks ago. He hates it more than I do. I don't really mind it that much, but he really hates like the newer Stranger Things seasons.
Okay.
And it occurred to me, like when we were talking, that I kind of don't want to rewatch any of them. And I really liked 4 when it came out, and maybe I'd still like it if I watched it again. But it occurred to me that I think there's a lot of stuff that's really fun to watch the first time, just because, at least for me, I kind of like being strung around with a bunch of like weird plot twists and shit.
Mm-hmm.
But like genuinely, a lot of it just kind of sucks and doesn't make any sense and really isn't that thoughtful. But it's just kind of fun seeing where things go. And obviously, I think the really good stuff does a lot more than just kind of crazy plot twists and weird twists and turns. And that's the kind of stuff that really lasts with you, if that makes sense.
Yeah, there are some mysteries that upon a rewatch are only strengthened, like, oh, I didn't even notice that at first. And then there's some where once you know the answer, there's really no substance to it. But
Yeah.
this game, Chilling by the Fire, which I confused with a different indie game, is actually a Nintendo Switch 2 exclusive, one of the very few, joining the lineage of Survival Kids 2025, Fast Fusion, that one remake of Yakuza, and then, your Mario Karts, your Donkey Kongs, your Welcome Tours. Also, I believe this Thursday, Drag X Drive finally comes out. I don't know if you intend to play it, but I intend to play it. And then on the next pod, we can discuss Drag X Drive. But I might actually play this as well, because there are very few Switch 2 exclusives, and this is actually out now. The only potential partner or indie announcement that I would have been excited for is a release date for Mouseworks from Nitrome or Nitdrome, that I accidentally keep saying is the Snipper Clips company, even though it is not. I'd like to take that back. But that's a game that utilizes the Nintendo Switch 2 mouse, and it's an indie game, and it looks like a lot of fun. But this is another exclusive. I have no opinions on it. I guess I'll play it. It might be, I think sometimes Friend Slop does fit, because it might be one of those games that if you play by yourself, it really is nothing. And we talked with Brent a little bit on the previous podcast about how some games really are just for playing
Not
in a
really
party setting.
It's like, oh man, chess doesn't have a good enough single player experience. It's like, oh, well,
I love being able to go back through the lineage of the pod and be like, yeah, my buddy Brent was talking to me about this.
Yeah,
Yeah,
dude,
we were
Brent,
caught it up.
yeah, our good friend Brent, friend of the show.
A good
Dude, he
close
literally
personal
is a
friend
friend of
Brent.
the show.
Yeah, I mean, he's been on the show. That's got to count for something.
Yeah.
So a little bit through that because I can't imagine anything more is going to happen in the partner showcase that will super interest us, except for the end. That, oh yeah, this game. I saw somebody, I think it was Coney that tweeted out, it was like, the only game I was excited for in that partner showcase was that 20 frame per second mouse game. And I don't think it even has a release date. But the Brent pod was something that, I mean, I sort of dropped it on you. I don't remember what day. Maybe it was like the weekend before. And I said like, hey,
Yeah,
if
no,
you
it
can
was
get
like the
this day.
Saturday, and I'm like, shit, okay.
Yeah.
Fun fact, and I hope this doesn't make you feel guilty. That was my birthday.
Wednesday
So
was?
yeah, it was.
That's crazy.
So
I
I
didn't know
like,
that. That's crazy.
yeah, I didn't want to like say it and be like, hi Brent. By the way, it's my birthday. Can you sing happy birthday for me?
Oh,
So I
he
didn't
loves to
say it.
sing.
But I was like, on that day, I was like, okay. I mean, normally, well, actually, no. I was thinking like for a lot of things, I would just say no. I'd rather not do anything like that on my birthday. Not to say that I don't enjoy this. It's just
Yeah.
I want to like just like chill out on my own.
Yeah, work
But
is
like
work.
Brental Floss, like I was not gonna be the fucking guy that makes it not happen. You know what I mean? It's like, oh yeah, dude, I'm.
Well, if it didn't happen then, it could have happened another time. But yeah, I just wanted to get
Yeah,
your
but
perspective on, because I did like immediately message you. I'm like, hey, we could do this on Wednesday, but it's the only day it's gonna work. So I don't know what was going through your head
okay.
at the time. Now I know it was your birthday. Happy birthday, man. I didn't know that.
Yeah. Well, I didn't want to like make a whole thing out of it. That's the thing.
The
But
Switchy birthday
also it's
episode.
hard to tell people it's your birthday. Like, you know what I mean? It's just I don't know. There have been times I just didn't tell anyone, and then they get kind of sad afterwards. But I just don't like I don't know. I mean, I guess like I don't want to ask someone to say happy birthday.
Yeah.
First of all,
And I don't
and it's
really
also like
celebrating my own birthday. Like, I don't know how you
Really?
feel about it as an adult, but like, yeah, I don't like making a thing out of it. I mean, my birthday's really close to Christmas. So when I was a kid, they kind of just like became one thing. So I
the classic
don't,
Mary Wimpy Kid Jesus bit.
yeah, very early January, but up until recently, because I was just celebrating with my wife because we have very close birthdays and we were just going to see each other anyway. I think my parents wanted to go out of their way. It's like, oh, let's do something. Let's get dinner. And I just really didn't want to do anything. I don't like doing something for my birthday. And maybe I'm a dickhead or antisocial for saying this, but like I know so many people and I don't really want to do stuff for other people's birthdays either. At least like going out, because think about how many birthdays are in a year, and you got to go through all of them. Maybe I just don't go out
There's like
enough,
8
but
billion birthdays in a year.
yeah, I'm
know?
supposed to celebrate every day like it's a birthday.
Well,
I
there have
think
been times where it's like I've like been like bargaining with myself, like maybe like with eating junk food or something, and I'm at like my friend's birthday party, and I think, well, it's a special occasion, and then I realize it's not that special of an occasion.
Yeah, how
Like
many birthdays do you go
if I
to a
like
year?
let myself go for all my friends' birthdays, then I'd basically never actually have to diet. You know what I
Mhm.
mean? It's like, okay. But every single day becomes an exception to the rule, or at least every weekend does. It's just, I
Yeah.
don't know. Like, for example, at my high school, and to be fair, my high school like 40 or 50 students, but every Friday, if it was a week of someone's birthday, there would be like pizza, like they get some Little Caesars or whatever. And I think to myself, like, more often than not, we had pizza on Fridays. And it's
Right.
like, okay, well, so this isn't that special of an occasion. We actually feel like we're being punished when it's not someone's birthday. You know what I mean?
Someone should just lie and say it is their birthday.
Yeah.
Imagine going to that school and your birthday's in like the summer. I guess it's better to
Oh.
celebrate your birthday that way, but then you're missing out on the potential pizza.
I always kind of wished I got the like attention. It's like, oh, looks like
I'm the special birthday
everyone
boy.
gets like cupcakes for Switchy, blah, blah.
Right.
But like, yeah,
There are
that never
some
happened to me.
holidays that you can continue to celebrate. Like, I'm not going to be like, oh, you're too old to be doing this, but you have to shift your perspective a little bit. When it comes to
Yeah.
Halloween, which I love, and now that we're in August, I've been very excited for Halloween. I've been feeling it. Every year I think, man, this year's going way too fast, and then it comes around like close to the holiday season, and I get re-excited every time. I'm like, oh, God, I love Halloween. I love Christmas. That enjoying them as an adult is different from enjoying them as a kid. You're not getting like a bunch of presents under the tree and you're not going trick-or-treating, but there are other vibes to it. There's iconography and extended media that you can use, or parties that you can use to celebrate. A birthday is one that, like, I don't drink often. And even for like my 21st, I'm like, I don't want to do this. I don't really care. I don't drink at all. I should say, actually.
My
And-
aunt Venmoed me like $20 on my 21st birthday or something, maybe a little bit more. She's like, oh, first drinks on me. And I didn't want to be mean to her, but I kind of thought to myself, like, first of all, it's 10 p.m. where I am.
I'm spending this on eShop.
And also I'm getting a Diet Coke with this.
Yeah.
Like,
I'm 16 and my dad just offered me a beer. That I just don't like. Stuff stops becoming legal. Like 21 is the birthday. It was like, oh, that's the big one. And I don't want to be sour and be like, oh, once you get to a certain age, you got to get over the birthday stuff. But like, legitimately, if I like knew someone, I'm an adult and I know another adult, and they're like, hey, what are you guys doing for my birthday? And it's like, I don't know, man, going to work. Like, what do you mean? Like, I
Yeah,
think at a
well, that's
certain
the thing.
point,
Like, I tell people, I'm not gonna remember remember his birthday. Little twerp is lucky I remember his
remember his
name.
name.
But
I
no,
love that bit.
but like, yeah, no, it's like one of the funniest bits in the world tour. But actually, but yeah, no, I don't go out of my way really to like remember people's birthdays. Like when someone tells me their birthday, I usually just kind of like think of it as like non-essential information because I mean, on
I
some
agree.
level, I mean, if you want people to remember your birthday, you have to make that effort. And honestly, there was a point in time back when I did visual art, like I would draw people stuff for their birthday, and then I realized how many birthdays there actually were, and I realized,
I
okay, yeah, no,
know.
I can't go out of my
That's
way
what
to do
I'm
this.
saying.
Like it's like, and just there's like a game you end up playing. I don't know. It's not like important enough to me that I would want to really kind of like make such a deal out of it for anyone but myself. And
Yeah.
even then, like all I really did is that did a show with Breno Foss and played some video games, and I don't know, like that's not
Yeah, I
you know
think I mean the my birthday last year I was just capturing footage from Portal. Oh, so this is the end part of the partner showcase. I think where they said like, "Oh, we've got 2 games left to announce." And this first one is this HD2D sprite art. And I'm not sure which one this is. Okay, this is a completely different IP called The Adventures of Elliot the Millennium Tales. I don't remember if this is a new game or if this is a remake. I like that the place is called Philadelphia. But you see this game and you're like, oh, they're doing another one of these. Okay. This is the penultimate announcement of the partner showcase. And you see a game that looks like this, and you feel a certain way, regardless of how HD2D makes you feel. And you see the appeal of the game is how it looks. This is the final or second to final announcement of the Direct. And then after this game, they're like, that's right, Elliot the Millennium Tales is coming out. And then the final announcement of this partner showcase is another Square Enix game. And it's the HD2D again. And it's
like,
Octopath Traveler Zero.
Did my video skip back? Like, what is this? Yeah.
Yeah, it's this. Am I watching the same trailer? Am I losing my mind? So the last 2 announcements of this partner showcase, everyone was saying like, "Is this the same? Am I getting this mixed up?" You have potential strong feelings about the HD 2D style, correct?
It's something that I kind of go back and forth on. I think often a lot of the time it's just kind of it's like fake good graphics, if that makes sense.
It's
Where
got
it's
that
just
light bloom
I don't
blowing up
know.
the background.
Yeah, where it's like I remember like there was people joking about like doing an Undertale remake, and I'm like, yeah, you know
I
what?
did
All
hear
we
about
need from
that.
Undertale is like ray traced graphics and like extra bloom and also post processing effects. Like it's like there's like this kind of like attempt at making a game like look better that often doesn't make it look better. At least for me. I mean, I'm not like totally against HD 2D, but I think they have like occasionally just remade games in this style only, and it often just it's a whole different kind of visual way of telling these stories, which usually historically were just like top down sprite based kind of
Yeah.
like environments. And I don't know, I feel like there's still a place for that in the modern day if we want there to be. And frankly, like let's say for example Chrono Trigger. If I had to play Chrono Trigger either in this style or just kind of like based on like basically just the SNES game, but using the same sprites or at least something very similar to the same sprites and just kind of rendering them or kind of giving some quality of life upgrades, I'll do the quality of life upgrades any day, just because I don't
Hmm.
know, I mean, it feels a lot closer to the initial vision of the game, and I think that there's something valuable about that. And I don't know, I mean, I feel like sprite based like video games, I guess we don't they're not the only option we have for the kind of like visual storytelling that we do for like visuals in games anymore, but I still think that there's a certain beauty to them. And I don't know, I think there's still very much a place for them, and I wouldn't want to I don't want them to be treated as just like an obsolete thing.
Yeah.
That's basically it.
I
Yeah.
definitely prefer this over remaking older games because, and I don't want it to sound like I'm equating everything that comes from Japan as like the anime art style, because again, that is also reductive. But I do think a lot of the way that specifically in JRPGs or strategy games that the characters are designed doesn't always translate well to 3D. Like, I am
Mhm.
probably more likely or more partial to play a Fire Emblem on the NES or the Super Nintendo or the Famicom or Super Famicom or the Game Boy Advance. Like, when I played it on the Game Boy Advance, I'm like, oh, I actually like how this looks. But the modern 3D cute anime boy art style, I don't necessarily vibe with. So something
Mhm.
like an older Final Fantasy, or like you said, a Chrono Trigger, I would rather see them in sprite form because I find those more appealing. Like, I think aesthetically it looks better. But I'm not
Yeah.
certain if this is a remake. It's just interesting to do
I
this
I think
right
it's just a new game.
before
I think it's just a new game.
Octopath, and it's especially if it is a new game by the same company, mind you, it seems very strange and such a misstep to do the same art style for a series you're currently supporting, which is still Octopath. Because every time I see that HD2D style, I'm like, oh, that's Octopath. Every time. Because that was the first
Yeah.
time I saw it. And I guess I'm glad it's being adopted more, but I think I only prefer it in remakes or Octopath. Like, I don't think we need more series
Yeah.
doing that exact thing.
Yeah, I definitely agree in the sense that I'm not super for it or against it. I think there's a cool way it can be done. I mean, this isn't super comparable, but I know always loved how the way Paper Mario 1 and 2 were kind of designed,
Mm-hmm.
where it's kind of like you're a 2D, I don't know, you're literally some paper shit, and
And
you
he's a
kind of
chunkier
walk on these
guy.
like diorama areas and stuff like that. I like that kind of style as opposed to just like a totally free camera environment, which I think just because of the free camera, there are certain intricacies in world building that you can't really do. I mean, one of my favorite things in Paper Mario: The Thousand Year Door and the original one, I'm pretty sure, and Super Paper Mario, is where you kind of like go down a little corridor and the entire world kind of flips around and stuff like that. I don't know. There's like a certain kind of there's something about 2D visual exploration that I find really fun and really satisfying and rewarding. And you don't get the same thing from fully, I guess, 3D games, at least in my opinion.
I think
Um,
there's, and for a while it was sort of like a prevailing opinion that for whatever reason something 2D was lesser. And it
yeah,
was the case with movies a lot. We talked about this on the previous pod, or Brent brought it up, that
yeah,
for games it was like, oh, if it's on the main console, it's got to be 3D. You got to have like full movement. That I'm glad that when the Switch converges both handheld and console, that we're still getting, I guess, for lack of a better term, AAA 2D Mario, or AAA 2D Zelda, or top-down Zelda, or AAA
yeah,
2D Metroid. Like, I'm glad they're not just remakes or, oh, we're gonna throw this on here. And even third-party series like Ninja Gaiden or Prince of Persia. I'm glad we are, on top of getting the 3D ones, also getting the 2D versions. So I think if this is the best way to get one of those top-down grid-based RPGs, as opposed to, like, I like moving in the future too. I like having that open world Pokemon that you're able to explore, but sometimes I also like running into Pokemon in the tall grass and moving in the four cardinal directions and having to push a block for a puzzle. Like, I still find
yeah.
that charming. I don't think that's obsolete. I just think it's not often done.
Yeah, maybe it's extreme to say, but I feel like puzzles and like RPG dungeons just kind of fell off after like they started doing RPG dungeons in 3D. Maybe
Yeah.
not all games, but I kind of think to myself, like, as much as I love Xenoblade Chronicles, for example, I never found, the little like puzzles it has in its dungeons to be that interesting as opposed to what you'd find in like a Pokemon game or whatever, like an old school Pokemon game. And I don't
Yeah.
even think they really do things like strength puzzles anymore
No, well,
in
people
the
complained about
in the
HMs
newer
because they
Pokemon.
overdid it.
Yeah.
I don't think HMs are the issue. I think the over reliance and the number of HMs. Because if you just have like
Yeah,
strength and rock smash and then like surf and fly, like, I'm cool with that. I know people don't like
you could
strength, rock
probably
smash, or
make that
cut or
work.
whatever, but I would rather have that and have those HMs. And the remakes still keep them, but it seems like their answer to moving these HMs into the modern day, as in not having them, is not replacing them with something else. Like, oh, you could push this block using a ride Pokemon like they did in Sun and Moon. Their answer to getting rid of them is just replacing them with nothing. Like, there's still exploration in
Yeah.
those games, but there's really no puzzle solving.
Yeah, I mean, I guess I would say, like, I guess after Gen 6 they had like the ride Pokemon who kind of well, I think in Gen 6 you had both ride Pokemon and HMs. which is
Yes.
just like, oh great, thanks. Because I remember when I played X and Y, I just didn't have a flying type on my main team, and I just thugged it out. Like I was just like, all right, well, I guess I'm just biking to this fucking city.
Yeah.
Um, or I guess I'd occasionally like take like a one Pokemon that knew fly out of my box just to fly there and then put it
Say what
back
you
in.
will about the early games like Red Blue, Fire Red, Leaf Green, the Kanto games being really poorly or lacklusterly designed. Like I think that's one of the best maps the game has had cuz they all loop back around to themselves. Like if you're
Yeah,
there's never a town that's like more than 2 towns over. Like you always have access to everything. Especially
I've
like when
always
you're
liked how red, blue, and yellow, theoretically, you can do a lot of the game in any order, or not like in
yeah.
any order. But I think once you beat Cerulean City, like you can theoretically do the next like 4 or 5 gyms. I think the next 4 gyms in any order if you really want to.
Mhm.
Because like I forget what you need from Lieutenant Surge once you get cut. I think cut only lets you. I forget the order, but I've like watched enough. I watched a lot of those J Rose 11 kind of
Yeah,
how
me
can you
too.
beat red and blue with just like a freaking Caterpie or whatever. I watch those videos a lot, and yeah, he often does them in different orders based on what's easier, and like yeah, you can theoretically just kind of go in any direction, which
Yes.
is kind of fun. I mean, I also really like when you kind of in RPGs specifically, but other games too, where through all the adventuring you do, you kind of end up right where you started. And it's not like Pokemon games have never really haven't embraced that since Kanto, but never to the same extent, I would say. I mean, Unova is pretty much one straight line. I mean, actually, after you beat the game, then you can kind of like explore some nooks and crannies. But I don't know. I really like that kind of way. It makes the world feel more like a world with kind of places to go and places to go from, as opposed to just a narrow straight line. I
Yeah,
mean, I know
benefited from its
Galar was basically just like
limitations.
one. Galar was just basically like a straight line, which is kind of annoying.
Yeah, you could just avoid the wild area if you really wanted to. It was like a circle, line, circle, line.
Yeah.
So I'm glad at least in Scarlet and Violet you bounce around a little bit. But again, at a certain point, the world is a little too open. Not that it is like, oh, this open world is the biggest map we've ever had. But sometimes it is just a lot of field. And that's why I really dislike the trainer battles in Scarlet and Violet, that they're all optional. And some of them you have to walk out of your way to find the trainers. I wish there was some kind of
Yeah.
item that you could keep track of who you have and haven't battled. Because sometimes you'll come across someone from like the opening area, like under a tree, and you're like, oh, I've never fought this person. And they have like a level 2 Lechonk. It's like, oh, I just never had the opportunity. Because they don't approach you. They just stand there until you
Yeah.
approach them. I think there
I
are
think
some pretty fundamental things that are lost in that pivot to
yeah.
open world
Well,
3D.
I think often with open world games, you can't really design the areas with the same kind of intention for the player's experience. Because you can theoretically take so many different routes to get to a place that it's a lot harder to control how they get there through the use of, obstacles or kind of like walls to climb. Because especially once you get, your Koraidon and Miraidon to be able to like climb and stuff, you can get to so many places really easily
Yes.
that I know there was a similar thing in Breath of the Wild where a lot of the time people will just end up climbing like the most fuck ass kind of like angle when they could have just walked up. You know what I mean? And once you start climbing, you don't want to stop, so you just deal with all the stamina BS. And there's kind of a fun element to that too. But I don't know. There's not like I don't feel like you get that kind of same collection of rewarding puzzles when you through like Scarlet and Violet.
Yeah. My favorite thing to do in the newer Zelda games, your Breath of the Wild, Tears of the Kingdom, and also Donkey Kong Bonanza, is doing things in clearly not the way the game intends you to do those things, or the dumbest way possible. I think when I was going through
Hmm.
Breath of the Wild in like 2017, I guess like earlier 2018, and then coming back to it in that same summer, I didn't get the weather tunics that help you survive the cold or the heat. And I would just take a bunch of steps, eat an apple, save, take a bunch of steps, eat an apple, save. Like that's how I got through those areas, which is stupid and way more long-winded. But at a certain point, you kind of just do it because you want to see if you can do it, even if it takes
Yeah,
way longer. Oh, we gotta
and yeah,
check. I forgot we wanted to make a
there's
habit of
definitely
checking
oh yeah.
the Bonanza speed runs. I forgot about that. Keep talking. I'm gonna
Oh
look into
yeah.
this.
But yeah, I mean, there's definitely, a trade-off, and I think the's something really fun about, a lot of these more open-ended games. But I don't know. There's something about you know, a dungeon in a game being its own kind of puzzle, and you're like, okay, where do I move this strength ball or whatever? Where do I push it down here? Like, what's that going to open up downstairs? You know, I really like that kind of style of game, and I think it's harder to do that when there's a fixed camera, when there's I suppose when your player isn't moving on a fixed grid either, because that's how a lot of RPGs maintain that and don't let you kind of scooch past stuff, is the fact that you're only on, you know, one square at a time. Yeah, I don't know. I feel like I've said my piece.
Yeah, I love the Legends games as much as anyone. They're my favorite ones on the Switch, and also just in modern memory or recent memory. And I understand that Brilliant Diamond and Shining Pearl were really, really bad remakes and didn't really change anything and had its own swath of issues, but I really hope it doesn't scare the company away from doing another one of those grid-based games. And I think that
Hmm.
the best way to do that, unfortunately, is like, oh, a remake and then pivot. Because that's what they did with that Zelda game, like literal Zelda game that came out last year. I didn't really play a whole lot of it, but it was built on top of the Link's Awakening remake
Hmm.
in that engine. And I really hope we see, like, because Mario is still doing 2D Mario, Metroid's still doing 2D Metroid, maybe. Same thing with Zelda. I really hope that we see more of those top-down chibi grid-based Pokemon designs. Because the more I think about Brilliant Diamond Shining Pearl, the more the art style, I wish it was a little bit more polished, does grow on me a little bit. I would like to see another grid-based Pokemon game, but I think most realistically they're not going to try that again because Brilliant Diamond and Shining Pearl, I don't know if they sold poorly. I imagine they didn't sell as well as they had hoped, but I know they had really poor reception
Oh yeah, I assume they sold fine, but I don't know for sure.
considering
I
their
mean, like
Pokemon
Pokemon
games.
really is just such a fucking juggernaut. I mean, even some of the most hated games in the series, you know, just like sold, you know, bonkers amounts of money, so made bonkers amounts of money. So, I don't think that's really that much of a concern.
No, but I do think they're one of the few companies that it does get to them. Like you can
You
tell,
think so?
and I know it's strange to say that, like, oh, you could tell like Pokemon really cares because they often release unfinished buggy messes. But I do think they're one of the few companies that legitimately, like, the internet reception upsets them a little bit.
Really?
Yeah, of Sword and
You're
Shield, of
probably
Brilliant Diamond
right.
Shining Pearl, because they try and correct that. Right now, the standing for Bonanza. Some of these have been added today. It seems like we're still circling around an hour and 14 minutes. You can see Small Ant down here, number 16. It
It's kind
hasn't.
of surprising because there were way more layers than I thought there were gonna be.
Yeah. Oh, dude, the tier list for two-player Bonanza speedrun. There's only like 12 people on here, and one of them's like the
Dude, I
same
hate to
guy.
say it.
Could
I
totally
tried
get on
I
here.
tried two player, like it's not for me. Maybe, well, actually I played it with
Imagine
just two
playing it for
Joy-Cons.
only 3 hours
Maybe that's
though.
maybe that's the thing. It's just the two Joy-Con thing. Like playing Donkey Kong Bonanza with only one Joy-Con is kind of a pain in the ass because like
Yeah.
moving the camera is really annoying. It kind of hurts my hand a little bit because you have to like press L while also, I don't know, it's just not, you know,
Mm-hmm.
not my cup of tea, I guess.
I am
But
still slowly making my way through Bonanza. I've been playing it on Thursdays, but I won't this time because Thursday is my rotational Switch 2 day, and I will be playing. I almost said Switch 2 Ultra. Drag X Drive next time. So, have you gotten much farther in
ooh,
Bonanza? Without
yeah, a lot
saying
further.
a lot further. Okay, so last time we talked, you were on the canyon layer, right? The mining
I'm on the
place.
Radiant layer now.
All
I'm
right,
still
I don't think
embarrassed
I'm
though. Like,
there.
yeah, no, you're definitely not. If you're not,
Damn.
I have like four Bonanzas and stuff.
Yeah, I
Um,
got those.
okay, so yeah, so you're not that far behind me then.
No. Wait, what's the elephant layer called? Like where
The
they all
Tempest
live.
layer.
Okay, I'm on the Tempest layer. That's where I left off.
Yeah.
But I wanted to 100% everything up to that point, or everything I could get. So I went to I think I said this, but there was something I needed. There was one Bonanzium gem and one fossil I needed in the canyon layer. But I couldn't
Uh-huh.
reach it because it was too far and I didn't know how to get over there. So I went to the divide and then chose the grass one, I think. Or no, I chose the snow one first. And then I realized that was the
I
zebra
did the ice
and
first.
I
Yeah.
and I assumed like, and then I thought like, oh, the went to the Eelaport and went back to the divide and then went to the grass one and got the bird and then used the bird to go back. And then I just did both of those and now I'm in the Tempest layer. So I will throughout the year ever so slightly make my way through it. At some point we will have a pod where we both have fully finished the game and we can actually discuss it. But for right now, all we got is the Indie World Showcase. And a lot of these
Yay.
games are I don't mean to I'm less partial to shit on the games in the Indie Showcase than I am the Partner Showcase, cuz I can't imagine the developers of Madden 26 or FIFA or Just Dance. I don't think they care about my opinion, or I could somehow affect the sales of that thing. But this is the Shovel Knight developers, the Hollower. But again, I don't think there's any games here that were like, oh, this is coming to the Switch and it's a big deal, or it's like a new game in general. I think this game, yeah, Big Little Kitty Big City, came out last year. Like it was like mid 2024. I suppose I'm glad it's on the Switch now, because obviously I just want every game to be on the Switch at some point. But none of these are new announcements. Like I'm more partial to an indie game than I am the Partner Showcase. But at least the Partner Showcase had like 2 new games. This doesn't really
Mhm.
show us anything. Content Warning is a good example of Friend Slop. This came out like not that long after Lethal Company, right? I get them mixed up a lot. There's Lethal Company, Content Warning. There's another one that is like an acronym. I forget what it's called though. Do you know what I'm talking
I
about?
forget. Yeah, I've never really gotten into those games. I guess I don't really like play Steam with friends anymore, or at least not,
Yeah.
as a common hobby. So I've actually never really played a lot of these games.
I mean, say what you will about calling them friend slot, but I do think there is sort of a self-fulfilling prophecy, or rather an ecosystem that's feeding itself. Repo, chat saying repo, right? That's what it was called. I did play that one. That before, and I talked about this in my video in October, indie developers would release horror games that were kind of just like, oh, there's a spooky mascot character here, and you have a flashlight and you're walking in an abandoned whatever. And those kept existing because YouTubers kept playing them. And the more they played them, the more would be made, and they were sort of feeding off each other like anglerfish. And it was an ecosystem that worked beautifully until like Hello Neighbor came out and everyone's like, I hate this game. I don't want to play this anymore. And now the meta is making a game like that you can have fun by talking to your friends, by doing shenanigans. And now you get together with your streamer friends and you stream those games. So I don't even know if Friend Slop is an apt comparison, because I think they are just like streamer games now. I think maybe streamer game is a better term for those, because I've seen those. I've seen, you get your group of 4 streamers and the chat is always like, "Oh, you guys should play this game now, the new hot game." And it's viral for a little bit, and I think the process is really sped up. And again, this is nothing bad about Lethal Company or Repo or Content Warning. Like I had fun playing those games, but I feel like they do sort of blend together at a certain point. It gets to a point.
Yeah. So let me ask you: is Among Us friend slop?
I think so. That was the first one.
I
That
would
was kind
say it
of
is.
that's when the pivot happened. That was sort of patient zero. Nobody else could do anything anyway. That's my issue, is that maybe I'm just like, maybe time in general is moving faster for me, but I feel like they're shifting so fast, whatever the viral game is. I can't keep track. Now people are dating their appliances. I'm not playing these. I'll give it a good year. That's how I feel about a lot of trends, and I don't mean to sound cynical or talk about like normies or whatever. There is a trend on TikTok, and I've been using the app less and less because every time I open it, it's making me depressed. Of some TikToker over the punk rock Superman theme being saying, "Oh, you need to nerd out," and then there's the next slide is a bunch of their nerdy interests. And you
Oh
see
god.
your Homestucks, your Five Nights at Freddy's, your Sonics or whatever. But because it's a popular trend, the trend has since been taken over by quote unquote, popular people, your normies, that are their nerdy interest is just like Love Island or Chipotle or whatever. And I don't really have strong opinions about this, but I can understand the frustration of everyone wants to be a nerd, but in a marketable sense now. And I
Mhm.
have tried to move away from being cynical, because that was what I said in the horror video, in the viral gimmick horror video game video, that I was a little shit when I was a preteen. I'm like, "Pff, these modern trendy games, who they only like them because they're popular." I would think that about everything. I thought I was so much better than I was like, oh, I wouldn't engage with these trends. But now I'm kind of feeling it back, that cynicism's starting to come back. And I don't want to hate on something just because it's popular, but Labubus specifically kind of get to me, because I don't even dislike them. And I think it's fine to get into something that has a large community and want to collect things as a fun hobby as a group. But I know that in like a year's time, they're going to be in a landfill. Like the people who wanted to get them and put them on their bags aren't going to like them anymore. They've become a sort of
Yeah.
fashion. And I feel a kinship with these Labubus in a way. The Labubu people, I feel like I understand them, or the creatures themselves. That I always give it a year. I'm like, if this thing is still around in a year or a month's time, and I can sort of start ironically saying Hawktua because now it's just unfunny, then that's fine. I will understand it. And there have been some things that have been like that I've thought like, oh, this thing is only around now, but it's really stuck around, and I thought like, okay, this might have something to it because there is still a dedicated community or people still like it. But when it comes to trends, whether it be trendy shows or fashion or Labubus, this happened in 2020 when the pandemic was first happening and everyone was telling me about Squid Game or Tiger King. And for both of those shows, I'm like, okay, if I'm still hearing about this show in a year's time, I'll give it a chance. And obviously they're still making Squid Game and people are still making Mr. Beast Squid Game or collecting plushes or whatever, and nobody's talked or thought about Tiger King in a long while. And maybe that's a really cynical way to go about it, but what I'm saying is I'll get into Labubus if they're still around in a year. I'm not getting into them until they're not cool anymore. I'm a hipster.
You know what? Do you know what Dubai chocolate is? Because I actually don't know what that is.
I think it's just
chocolate
a
made in
trendy type of
Dubai.
chocolate that looks like shit from a butt. And the idea is that it's like better because it's from Dubai, but it looks disgusting. And now
Okay.
they have like Dubai. This game, by the way, Caves of Good or Quid, I looked up all of these games to see like, oh, are they already out? Are they on other services? This game came out in like 2010. But now it's
like when
coming
they
to the
announced
Switch too.
like it's when they announce a new release of like World of Goo or something.
Yeah.
Like, okay.
Cave Story is coming to the Switch too. The only announcement that I saw any attention for or anything that a UFO 50 is the game I played. And I don't know if you've played this, but it's like somebody is trying to make an indie version of Action 52 but make it good. You know Action 52?
Yeah.
It was that NES cart that had a bunch it marketed itself as having 52 mini games on it. And I think it's a fun concept to go for.
700,000 games.
Right, all in one. Mario 7 is on this. You can play any of them. But as far as announcements go, sorry, I went on a tangent about Dubai Chocolate Labubu. I don't want to be the old guy shaking his fist at the cloud, but
Oh yeah, me neither.
but I've seen it before. I know that this stuff isn't going to stick around. I hope that there is a dedicated Labubu community in a year's time. Like, but people have equated them to Beanie Babies, and I don't think it's the same thing.
I kind of hope it doesn't last. I think honestly, I'm a little bit like extreme about this. Like I think a lot of this collector shit is just like a mind virus. Like I can't stand it. I don't know. It's like, I mean, and I'm saying this to you, and you have a lot of like old games in your room and stuff. And
True.
I don't know. I mean, if you get use out of it, that's fine. But I just see people who have, I probably use the word here because I love the word, just tchotchkes all over. They kind of have to accessorize everything. And there's an extent to which I think, if you can nick that habit, it's better for you, just health wise. Where I don't know. I mean, I've definitely felt that pool where I feel like I need to have everything of something. And it's never made me like a happier person. It's done the opposite. Where
I
it's
think
like,
you should
okay,
have
like,
not necessarily an emotional attachment, but like an attachment to the things you own. Like you should be able to, if somebody asks you, like, hey, what's the stuff in your room or what games do you have? You should be able to like list them off. If you're at the point where you're thinking like, oh God, I don't know. I've been getting so many of them, I don't really know, that they sort of blend together. Like I have figures, but I don't really get new things. Like I got the amiibo when we were getting the Switch 2 because I'm like, fuck it, I'll get all the Switch 2 stuff. But I really don't have a lot of those. Most of the figures I get secondhand from eBay that are for like a toy line in like 2003. I like having stuff like that because they're characters or games or series I like. A lot of the bullshit I have left over that you can tell is sort of like the most trash in my room is stuff I got from a loot crate in like 2015, and I'm like, I can't throw it away. Like I'm sure this is, and not that it's worth something, but I they made it and I have it. I'm not just gonna give it away. But I have like a Mega Man figure, which is a character or a game I never played, and I have like an Ice King. There's a lot of stuff I have because I used to get Loot Crate monthly when I was a kid because I saw YouTubers talking about it. And I thought it was so cool. I, this year, as a grown man now, developed my love, my reacclimation of cargo pants or cargo shorts. I do love going out in cargo shorts and socks and sandals now, looking as goofy as possible. Because for so long, I let the internet kind of sway me away from it because I was that Zelda shirt and cargo pants guy for most of my mid teenagers to early teenagers. Like the only new shirts I would get were from Loot Crate. Every month I would be like, "Oh, sick, a new shirt, RoboCop, a movie I've never seen. Oh
Oh
shit,
yeah,
RoboCop
a lot
t-shirt."
of my shirts. Before I was 18, the only shirts I got were like video game shirts from Redbubble, and after that, I went to like band shirts. And now I have like for a while, not so much anymore. I just had like no clothes that look nice to wear, you know, when I'm trying to be taken like somewhat seriously.
Yeah.
And and like that's only a habit. That's something that I've had to fix recently.
Mm-hmm.
But it's like, oh yeah, maybe this like dumbass fucking. Now there's some shirts that I still have that I gave away some of them because a lot of them were just too big now because I used to be a little heavier than I am now for one,
Mm-hmm.
but also they just have been so stretched out over the years
We're
that I had to
exchanging,
just
we're
get rid of
switching.
them. But like, yeah, no, took me a while to kind of start dressing a little bit more normally. But honestly, on days where I'm not leaving the house, like right now, I'm wearing just like short because I hate how I look in shorts, but that's usually what I'll wear on days where I'm not really trying to impress anyone because
Yeah.
frankly, I live in Miami, Florida. Like it's scorching here sometimes, and
Mm-hmm.
frankly, I'm not really like jeans look better on me, but I'm not trying to
Well,
fucking
prior
have
to
like total
getting
swamp ass.
the board shorts and the jorts this year, I think I like stuff that is goofy and it sort of wraps around to being funny. Like I kind of like, I don't want to say, how would I word this? You know, just being a goofball, you know, looking like some dude's like white uncle. Like I like wearing the jorts
Mhm.
and then the Hawaiian shirts and the graphic tees. I will say the majority of my closet is still t-shirts, but instead of them being like something I got from Target, it's really specific brand stuff that my friends find at flea markets. They're like, "Hey, do you want this?" It's like an old like Aqua Teen shirt.
Oh yeah,
Right
dude,
now,
your roommate, he had some cool ass shirts, kind of like I really wanted that Tina Turner shirt one of them was
oh
wearing.
yeah, they
That was
always
good.
find a bunch of stuff. Right now, I'm wearing a Bedrock McDonald's shirt from 1994, where it's modeled to look like the Flintstones, but it's a McDonald's. And I just like throwing
Oh
on
wow.
stuff like that. But prior to getting those shorts, I only had like this one pair of gym shorts, and they didn't really go with anything. Like I'm starting to, rather than like learn how to dress or look, I'm developing my style or like falling into that because I think everyone has it. And I think I am maybe perhaps sounding more and more like a hipster, but I don't want to look like how most people, I say our age, but like late teens, like early 20s are trying to look and their heart's not in it. And that's where the debate of like performative male comes from. And I've seen
Hmm.
so many arguments from every side. Ultimately, I don't really care how people dress, but I think you need to have your heart in it. You know, if you're gonna get a Labubu, if you're gonna carry around a tote bag, if you're gonna wear your Phoebe Bridgers shirt, you have to love those things. Like, I don't mean I'm gonna go up to you and say like, "Oh, name 5 songs." I mean like you should wear those things because you like how you look in them, not because you
Hmm.
want other people to view you a certain way.
Yeah, that's definitely true. I agree with you on that.
Mm-hmm. And we're talking about online arguments, or as far as stuff that happened the week, or the gossip this week in internet discourse. Before that, however, how does this image make you feel?
Oh, let's see this image. The fuck?
This was a leaked
Uh,
patent
this
for
could be a
A
dope ass
Joy-Con
fishing
with a
mini game.
crank.
Oh, good lord.
I Yeah, I guess fishing. There was that one Labo fishing game. I don't even know if
Yeah,
this is gonna be made into anything, but I saw it and I thought it was really funny.
it's a little bit. I just love the idea of them like being like, okay, let's just. So is this an actual patent they did, or is it just
Yes,
like,
this is a Nintendo
okay,
patent. Yes,
okay, so maybe they'll do it, but I think
and
they often patent a lot of things.
all the major Twitter accounts that are like talking about updates, like Nintendo patents this crank on the Joy-Con. I think from the jump, Nintendo has been more interested in making toys. Now that they don't make video games, but they were a toy company first. And I don't think they
Yeah,
ever stopped being that. Like from the NES onward, there have always been toys. I mean, that's what sold the NES as it was packaged in and as a toy.
that's the crazy thing is that it's like, oh yeah, no, I don't want this home computer entertainment device in my house. But now that there's like a stupid like little like plastic robot that it comes with that like doesn't even work, now I really want it. That's always like cracked me up.
And that's why still to this day, I mean, it's mostly perpetuated by really annoying people, but there's the stigma that girls don't like video games, you know? Oh, it's not a
Uh-huh.
women's thing. Like, this is a boys thing. Because of those toys being thrown in, like, the boys' toy aisle, because they were separated. You were going to find this in the
Hmm.
doll aisle. You were going to find this with, like, the Legos or whatever. And it's annoying.
Yeah.
Back in the day, I would get Happy Meals with my sisters, and they would get the girls' toy, and I needed their help in collecting the boys' toy because I needed to get all those Alvin and the Chipmunks singing McDonald's figures. I talk about McDonald's a lot. I'm not sponsored, but building on top of their love for just making toys for weeks, like we have been talking about a potential direct, although I don't think either of us believed it, and it evidently didn't amount to anything massive. I'm
I was
still
kind of
holding out.
hoping. I'm not gonna pretend that I wasn't kind of like swept away
Yeah.
with a little bit of the hype.
What if Metroid Prime 4 just never releases? And then some people will have played it. Like they went to the demo and they played it on the kiosk and they can recount like, "Oh
Oh
yeah, it
wow.
played like this." Or
That'd be
somebody's
like
going
a
to
really good way to get clout.
yeah, the game will be lost media, so there's going to be a whole hunt for someone trying to track down that kiosk and get the ROM off of it. That would be fun. I kind of hope the game gets canceled now. You know what? Cancel the game. Start over. Let's start development over. Clearly, it's not going well. We got to start over a third time. But another rumor, perhaps, or rather just a piece of speculation that we've been covering weekly, is that this year, like 2020 was the 35th anniversary, this year is Mario's 40th, correct? If I'm getting that
Yeah,
right? Believe so. And
1985.
we've seen
Or at least
people
it's the
kind of
40th since Super Mario Bros. Came out. I'm pretty sure.
Then it would also be Luigi's anniversary. Oh, the year of Luigi too. It's time to bring it back. Well, I think because that was 2015, was it not?
No, it's 2014. I'm pretty sure.
Oh, okay. So they were gearing up for another Mario birthday. And the last time we had a Mario birthday in 2020, and I know because I've been researching this year as of late, they released Paper Mario the Origami King
Oh
and
god.
the Mario 35 Battle Royale game that was a time exclusive, and the Super Mario 3D All Stars game that was a time exclusive. So honestly, and then I think Bowser's Fury like early in 21, but I assume that they were all meant to release that year. And
Oh, you
Bowser's
think so?
Fury
I never
is
thought about it like that.
cool. Well, that was the pandemic year, so I imagine a bunch of
Yeah,
stuff
it's
got
true.
super pushed
You're
back.
right.
That beyond Bowser's Fury, which is just attached to a port anyway, none of those are really major releases. Like some of them are ports. I guess one of them's a new Paper Mario game, but that seems more circumstantial than anything else. That I
Yeah.
never, when it comes to these anniversaries, other than Pokemon, I guess, which next year is the big anniversary and also might be Generation 10, and also the first game made exclusively for the Switch too. So we're really just holding over for that moment. That I think the internet has sort of talked themselves up into the potential of like a major Mario release. Oh, we talked about this as well. The Lego Mario released that year, or it was announced that year, and I hate the Lego Mario. I wish it was a minifigure. I hate how
Oh
bulky it
yeah.
looks. I think it's ugly. But in that same tune, it seems that potentially the major Mario thing for this year is a series of Mario themed products to be released from August 26, 2025. And most of these are for little children. Little toys, a plushie, a book, but a wood block set, I guess those are the toys. The main thing I've seen though is the Hello Mario app that is going to be both on a smart device and the Nintendo Switch software. They're still making stuff for the Switch one. I could not find a trailer on YouTube because every time you look up Hello Mario, it just shows you that testicle model, the one of the sex ed, the fake sex ed video, where it's like, "Hey, my brother Luigi's gonna come in with some information," and then Luigi says, "Hello,
Hello, Mario.
Mario." That's what comes up every time. But what I could find is this small trailer that sort of looks AI. I don't know if it is. And the reason we played in the intro of this pod or leading in the waiting room, the Super Mario 64 title screen where you can mess with his face, that I guess this is all the game is. Mario will react in various ways based on the player's input, allowing parents and young children to play together and enjoy each reaction they see. I feel like this will get very boring very quickly, even for a child, though.
Dude, I remember like seeing stuff like this. I think I forget if it was like Mario teaches typing. I think I saw a video where like someone was just like making like making Mario's teaches typing like hurt. like Mario was clearly in distress, and it made me really sad. I could genuinely imagine being 3 and then seeing this app and like fucking with Mario and then getting really sad and crying.
It's got
Straight
spyware
up. If I
inside it.
was
There's an
3,
old
like
man on the
I'm
other
an
side.
adult, I wouldn't cry, but if I was a kid, I would cry.
No, I'd cry now. I'd drop to my knees and hold Mario there. I'm gonna get you out of there. It's actually spyware, like that Talking Tom game. There's an old man on the other side who's controlling Mario, and he's telling your children to walk outside.
Tom, I never meant
Parents
to.
and young children to play
What did
together.
she say?
I'm not one of the
What
people
did
who talking
what did
Angela.
Angela say in the video where she became in the in the episode where she turned into a basketball or a soccer ball?
I have not seen the show,
Uh,
but
okay, because it's like a clip.
oh,
I remember I
sorry.
watched that episode just because I was really curious. I watched the whole thing where Angela gets turned into a
I need to understand the
fucking soccer
context.
ball. And like, I think one of the funniest things about that show is that they made Talking Ben like a scientist for some reason. Because they're like, okay, this is a cartoon about a guy, so he
Yeah,
has
it
to
was
have
a
a
time
friend who's a
skip.
scientist.
He
I
grew
guess.
up.
Yeah, I guess.
I'm not one to just leave an iPad in front of my child because 1, I don't have a child. 2, I don't have an iPad. But allowing parents and young children to play together, and the footage is just a parent holding the iPad in front of them while they bat away at it. I can't imagine this is fun for this parent. Like, I'm sure you see the joy in
His
your
arm's
child's
probably
eyes.
getting tired.
If I had like a young child like this, I would honestly just like, fuck it, man. Give them a controller. They'll figure it out. Like, it doesn't need to be a touchscreen. They're going to learn early. We're going to play Smash Bros. And they're going to jump on. Never too young to learn those skills. And we could jump into Smash Bros. But also, I just want to say, not that it's going to be a huge discussion point, but it's worth covering, that this weekend in the server, we play a different game every Saturday. We mainly just play games. I like to play games with the patrons in the Patreon Discord server, the BH Ultra Patreon Discord server. We played the new Castle Crashers update where you can draw your own character and insert them into the game. And it's actually been a lot of fun. I think I'm legitimately just going to be playing Castle Crashers for the coming weeks in the server. It won't be on stream, but it's fun to, because I played the game on the Xbox Live Arcade, not when it first came out, but when I was young in like 2012, 2013. So I was like 11 or 12, and the game is still fun, and adding this to it makes it a lot more fun. I think because this is like a Newgrounds anniversary, that you could just insert images into these sprites and then play as them. You ever play any Castle Crashers? I imagine you played it a while ago.
I played a little bit of it as a kid, but it was years and years ago. So I never really, I never beat it. I know that, but I remember getting kind of like at least several levels in.
It was a fun game on Xbox Live because everyone's game would have their own save data. So we would like make progression on somebody else's game and then like, oh, let's do this level again, but on this person's save. So we would just do the same levels. I don't know if I did ever beat it. Like, still to this day, this might be a good opportunity to do so. But that is the multiple directs. And like I said, because last week's pod episode was very focused on the floss of it all, that we didn't really go into a whole lot of details, and that's why we had 2 directs to cover. Similarly, the weekend before that pod, I had watched most of the entirety of Evo, and it's really been getting me back into these fighting games, and I wish I had an excuse to play them again. Your Street Fighters, your Tekkens, your Mortal Kombat 1, I forget every year, and then when Evo comes back around and I'm streaming it live, I'm like, oh yeah, I love Evo. And I watched some of the Rivals of Aether. I think I watched the top 24 onward. There was some drama there, but I just want to say that the person I was backing, yeah, there was a dude who was like weird to people and then also like flipped someone off like when they lost and then refused to show up to the top 8 because they didn't win. Like they do an award ceremony for the people who made top 8 at the end and they just weren't, they like no-showed it.
Oh, okay.
But I don't know where it is or who it is. I like to back a person just randomly before the top 8 and be like, oh, this is the person that's going to win. And 2 years ago in Street Fighter 6, there's a player named Mena and they have a tag. And his tag is like RD, so it just looked like it said Menard. So without knowing anything, only like a month into Street Fighter 6, I was like, you know what, I'm going with Menard. And he didn't win that year, but I went with him again this year, and the Menard won Evo for Street Fighter 6. And also I picked Sonic Fox, and Sonic Fox won. You're familiar with Sonic Fox at least a little bit, right? Because they played some Smash 4 Bayonetta, and people got really mad at them.
Yeah, also Sonic Fox, it's kind of weird, weird connection. At least Sonic Fox used to play Skullgirls. I don't know if they still do. I mean, I don't know what the deal with Skullgirls is these days. Like, but one of my best friends from high school, He used to play it competitively, so he actually knows Sonic Fox. Maybe not like super well, but it was always kind of interesting because like I remember, Sonic Fox getting really big, knowing
Yeah.
that was like one of the first like famous people on the internet that I kind of like knew by 1 degree of separation. So I remember finding that really
And
interesting.
it was crazy seeing them win because now they're in second place for the most amount of Evo World Championships. Like they are one behind Freddie Wong.
Oh wow.
They're about to be tied for the most, and they keep winning for Mortal Kombat. So I hope they win again next year. I don't think they won any for Smash in the very few Smash tournaments that happen at Evo. But I don't know if it lined up like this or they intended to do this. But the weekend after Evo was Supernova, formerly Super Smash Con. And I just wanted to say that the person I backed for Rivals of Aether, Stango, didn't win top 8 at Evo, but did win top 8 at Supernova. I haven't watched the entirety of this. I knew there was already, I don't know if you heard anything about Supernova this year, and I don't know what happened particularly this year, because there's always going to be drama in these communities or just, some bad actors. But this was the highest Melee turnout or highest Melee sign up and maybe turnout for any Smash tournament like ever, I think, or just for every
Wow.
Supernova, like the most amount of signups for Melee. So that's crazy that they had to change the name to Supernova from Super Smash Con under duress of Nintendo. Like I imagine they
Really?
wanted either Nintendo threatened them like litigation, or they're just like, you know what, we're not fucking with Nintendo. We don't want to call it Super Smash Con anymore. And I know it is a convention, and there just happen to be tournaments there. Like there are some major Smash tournaments that happen at MomoCon as well, but that's not really why people go. But I would
Yeah.
still rank this as more of a tournament than anything. I want to find these schedules, and I don't mean this to sound like pedantic or a dickhead or whatever, because I was also, when I would go to MagFest as a kid, I would wait in line to meet YouTubers. I waited in line to meet fucking Brenofloss when I was a kid. But like,
Oh
as I
really?
get
So that
farther,
wasn't the first time you met him?
no, he signed my copy of Shaq Fu when I was like 14.
Oh,
But
I think you've
I
told
just
me that
didn't
story
bring it up.
actually. Oh
That
man, you would have enjoyed. You probably would have found that funny.
No, I gotta live as. That's the thing too, is that like now I'm at the point where anyone could be my peer. Maybe that's like an egotistical way of looking at it, but I'm like, I don't want to really fanboy over like anyone that I might like. Oh, I might just work with this person someday. I don't know
Mm,
where it is, but I saw a schedule. Was it this schedule? Maybe it was that there was a tournament happening at the time. And I don't mean this for any smoke to any streamers or any of my streamer friends or any fans in general, but I was just seeing posts of Supernova as it was happening, and there was a huge line for like a Ludwig meet and greet. And no smoke to Ludwig. I mean, not for this particular scenario. I don't think he's done a lot of great for other scenarios, but that's not really worth getting into. But as far as Smash goes, he's probably the most popular benefactor of Smash, maybe like most critical as well, like still keeping the scene going. And maybe that's why there was such a large turnout. And he is indispensable to that. But, however, I can't imagine going to a Smash tournament and not doing the tournament part and instead just waiting in line to meet Ludwig. To me, that's a little crazy.
yeah, I mean, yeah, actually, even if it was like, I was gonna say unless like you're already in the area, like if you like live there anyway,
Mm-hmm.
and
In
maybe,
Virginia.
but yeah, if you're just going there just to see the YouTuber, I mean, it's a little extreme.
Yeah.
I mean, I
I
guess
mean, I guess it used to be a convention, it still sort of is. But the first day on Thursday, they didn't announce the schedule until I remember they announced it like Evo weekend, so like the week before. And they announced Melee doubles as happening on 3 p.m. on Thursday. Like starting 3 p.m. on Thursday. And we've gone to conventions before, we've gone to conventions together. 3 p.m. on a Thursday is when most people are like arriving to a convention. Like Thursday's the day that people fly in more often than not, no?
yeah,
So there
depends.
were a lot of people that like bought a ticket to like sign up for Melee doubles that only found out that it was starting at 3 p.m. on Thursday. This is Eastern Standard Time. Like the doubles were all this day or it was starting this day. And I know they had to have stuff that day, and maybe I would have planned like more accordingly and be like, oh, we have to know the schedule or fly in at a certain time. But I remember I saw some people that were upset about this time listing. But that is not the main thing people are upset about. In the this is the ultimate top 8. And I'm sorry, this is what I wanted to say. I see Spargo here. It was Stango that was my Rivals of Aether pick. And I just wanted to bring it up because Stango won Rivals of Aether 2 at Supernova, but not Evo. So I was right just later down the line, circling back to that. I don't want to get all my intel wrong or equate things that aren't necessarily there. So I am paraphrasing here. But what I heard from people going into the statistics of this top 8 or the top 32 or 24 or 16 is that of the pools of characters people were picking for the top ranked players for this biggest Smash tournament, arguably, 11 of those top players were Steve players. And I don't know if you have been following competitive Smash Bros at all. I do on occasion, but it's mostly Melee. Not because I like Melee more than Ultimate, because I really don't. I prefer to play Ultimate. But I think that is more interesting as an internet ecosystem that is a game that never got patched and yet still develops its meta. And I do think there is something to be valued about a game that never updates, and then the meta evolves around it just because people learn how to play a character. But that's something that is lost in a game that is constantly updated. Now, we mentioned Sonic Fox earlier. In the final stages, the ending stages of Smash 4, like maybe a year before Ultimate was announced, people were considering banning Bayonetta because she broke the game fundamentally and was very overpowered. Now, there have been really top-tier characters in Smash before that have been banned and haven't been banned. Your Fox McClouds for Melee. No Melee characters have ever been banned. There have been techniques in Melee that have been banned.
Wobble's been banned, I know that.
Yes. And in Brawl, at some major tournaments, Meta Knight was banned. That wasn't the case across the board all the time, but that was a very popular answer. And I think I could be wrong. I watch Evo every year for the last 3 years, and I only really follow there. I play the games, but I don't think there's been that there was some multiverses tournament that somebody discovered an Iron Giant bug during it, so the devs just removed the Iron Giant from the game in the middle of the tournament. Like, he disappeared from the character select screen while the tournament was happening. But I could be wrong. I don't have the expertise when it comes to all the other fighting games. I've only been watching the newer ones, your Mortal Kombat 1s, your Street Fighter 6, your Tekken 8s, even a little bit of Rivals of Aether 2. I don't think any other major game bans these characters. But there has been a lot of discussion about banning Steve over the last couple days. Granted, this has been a discussion that's been happening for years. Steve released in 2020. So we have had Steve in Ultimate for 5 years. It's crazy to think about, but that's the case. And has been consistently one of the strongest characters in the game. Granted, I don't think a Steve player won Supernova this year. I think they got close, and I think a lot of the top players were Steve players. I know we don't play super competitively, but I was wondering if you have any strong feelings about banning this character in Ultimate. I think above all else, it just is really emblematic of, this reeks of the final days of Smash 4. Like, we really are clamoring for a new Smash game sooner rather than later.
Yeah, I mean, I admittedly, it kind of occurred to me while you were talking that I kind of stopped paying attention to competitive Smash Bros. For kind of dark reasons, and that being like my source for Smash news was Etika World Network.
Yes.
Who sadly is no longer with us. And also there were some YouTubers I kind of got into. I think the main one I would occasionally watch back when Smash Ultimate came out was Zero, and he had his own, share of controversies. So because of that, those guys, they both either, passed away sadly or just stopped making videos for a long time. And I think that's where my attention kind of waned. So I never really kind of kept track of how Ultimate was changing over the past few years. I think because the people that I would normally go to just weren't making videos. And it kind of gave me the perception that people weren't playing Ultimate when they obviously were. And all that goes to say is that my experience with serious Ultimate play is pretty limited, all things considered. But I will say, first of all, it seems that the idea of banning parts of the game isn't as taboo now as it used to be, at least in certain communities. I know Pokemon, for example, especially with Gen 9, at least Smogon, so many more things get banned now than they used to be, just because of how, admittedly, Smogon Pokemon has had some serious power creep. But the idea that if something is just so disruptive to the meta of the game that it just makes the game not fun to play, warranting a ban of that thing, I think that's more accepted now than it used to be, and I kind of get why. Just because in the sense of if Steve is so, incredibly overpowered and dominating of a force that the only way to win is to also play Steve, because that's kind of how it was with like Meta Knight or Bayonetta. Maybe not to the same extent, but like Bayonetta, at least as far as I'm aware, just really changed. Like everyone was playing her or
Mm-hmm.
Cloud, like they were both super super good. And I guess you could make a similar argument with Steve, though I doubt it's actually really that much because Steve is that good. I mean, Steve seems to be pretty good, but I still think there's a lot of people who play other characters. Like Steve, all things considered, I don't think is like that overrepresented. And all things considered, Smash Ultimate seems to be a lot more balanced than, definitely Brawl, but also Melee. Like if you want to play any Smash game competitively, at least that one that is released and kind of by Nintendo and played in its current state, you're probably better off playing Ultimate, at least for balance.
Mm-hmm.
But
You at least have more character options.
but I think Steve specifically is just, I think one of the big reasons he also gets a lot of hate isn't necessarily because of how good he is, even though he does seem to be, the de facto, like the agreed as the best character in the game. It's also probably in large part because of how atypical his moveset is, that playing against Steve is very much unlike playing against any other character. I imagine that's kind of part of the reason why a lot of people clamor for him to be removed.
Yeah, that's what I
But
heard,
I'm
is
just
that
kind
it
of
sort of
rambling.
fundamentally breaks the game. And at best, I've heard
Yeah.
like anecdotal evidence. What I used to think, because whenever I played Steve, it was a lot of moving pieces. Like he had a lot of UI, so it wasn't easy to be good with him, but he could be really good in the right hands. Because I remember early
Yeah.
on in Ultimate, people were saying like, "Oh, dude, like K. Rool's the best in the game." But what really was the case is that he was the easiest to be good with, so anyone could just pick up the character and do some damage.
Yeah.
But as the meta developed a little bit, there were stronger characters, and King K. Rool isn't even really that far up there. And my understanding of
Yeah,
Steve,
definitely.
because it's difficult for me to play him, I suppose, or at least like really focus on what I'm doing and have all those options, was that Steve had a higher difficulty ceiling. But the anecdotal evidence I've heard that are pro his ban is that there was some local, like it wasn't a major tournament, but it was a local, that some like 12-year-old was at, that he didn't go for the tournament. He just happened to be staying at the hotel because his parents were on vacation or whatever. And he signed up and he won the tournament by playing Steve. Like it was just some
What the fuck?
12-year-old that doesn't play the game competitively that just accidentally won. That's the anecdotal evidence I've heard. Again, I am just
I love to,
recounting.
I love to look into that. That's insane.
Yeah. And some of the top Steve players, like I saw people tweeting about it. I'm like, oh, I'm going to check out this person's account. I'm going to see what they post about Steve. And they'll have like in their Twitter bio, like 18, not 18 plus, but like their age is 18. It's like, well, these are kids that are playing Steve. And
Yeah.
I'm glad that the Smash community is getting some new blood, but I'm not like vehemently against a ban. Like I think it goes against the game. But like I said, I like a game like Melee, although I don't love playing it, that develops its meta without any outside sources. Right? Like Donkey
Yeah.
Kong has rise through the ranks of the tier list because of one player, and then other players have developed that style because of it.
Yeah.
And I think that's really interesting. I know, given an infinite amount of time, or even like a year or so, that they can develop a way to beat Steve, the Steve killer. And granted, like that match we were just watching, the finals and the winner, none of those were Steve players. The final
Yeah.
two at the very least. I've actually seen more
Yeah.
Min Min in the top 8 than that. But I can understand that I don't play competitively, and it's probably way more annoying on their part. And it would need to be majority
Yeah.
rule. So fundamentally, I think I'm against the idea of like banning a character just because it's hard to beat, even if they're not necessarily like winning everything. I kind of just like from an internet ecosystem standpoint, just like, oh, play it where it lies. Leave it as it is and see what happens. Let the ants and the maggots take over the rotting sandwich, so to speak. However,
Yeah.
there are extra wrinkles into this. Again, I'm just paraphrasing what I've heard. I don't know how correct all of this is because, again, not really in the competitive scene. I have seen people parrot the idea that major Smash Ultimate tournaments or major Smash tournaments like this need to get a license from Nintendo to hold them, and they're not
Really?
allowed to ban characters. That's what I
Oh,
heard.
interesting.
I don't know how true that is. I don't know why Nintendo would necessarily care. Maybe they don't want their game to seem unbalanced. But if Supernova is licensed by Nintendo, maybe that's why they're called Supernova now. I know at some point they were called Super Smash Con and they just aren't called that anymore because some kind of legal threat, or maybe they're just future proofing for when there is a legal threat. I can't imagine Nintendo is that involved with Ultimate tournaments anyway. But like I said, I think this is more emblematic.
Yeah,
that
I
we
wouldn't
just...
be surprised if like this is a thing that they kind of have to do legally. I mean, just because I mean Nintendo is kind of infamous for being a little bit for not exactly being the most like if they can claim that something you're doing might infringe on their copyright or be mistaken for something that they officially do, like they're pretty ruthless. Like it just kind of occurred to me that they could probably like make me change my name. Actually, they probably wouldn't be able to. I could probably like fight it in court, but
yeah,
like theoretically, like
it's
you know,
different.
they like the idea that they would kind of like go after like a big video game event called Super Smash Con, like that is not out of beyond the pale for me.
Right. Because so much of the winnings or the funding of Super Smash Bros. Tournaments does not come from Nintendo. Like when I was watching Evo, the entire event is owned by Sony, or at least partially owned by Sony. So everyone's playing PlayStations, and some of the people that made it to the top 8 were flown out by Capcom and like Street Fighter because they won a bunch of online matches and they wanted them to compete at Evo. Like these other major companies, or I guess these third-party companies, are funding the competitive side of things, especially with your hero shooters like your Marvel Rivals or Valorants. And League, there's huge loadouts or huge payouts for those, where Smash is all community driven. So again, while I have potential qualms with the likes of Ludwig for other streamer reasons, when it comes to Smash Bros, I think it's commendable that there are some people that want to keep funding it and keep it alive almost single-handedly just because they love the game. But they could, Nintendo, if they want to shut it down at any point. I hope that the answer to this problem is not a Switch 2 edition of Ultimate where they start updating the game again and balance the game. I'm not saying I don't want Ultimate to be rebalanced or patched. I'm saying, like, I would much prefer a new Smash game. It has been the longest period. Era we're in right now does really feel like the final year of Smash 4, where Bayonetta took over everything. Granted, that was Bayonetta had just come out in 2016. Was it 2015, 2016? I think it announced 2015. So it was a couple years of Bayonetta.
She was announced.
Yeah, so it was a couple years before Ultimate was even announced. So that's like a good 2 years. And Steve came out in 2020. And I've seen a lot of smoke about Kazuya as well, which was the year after. But the last DLC character, the last update we got for Smash Ultimate, as far as patches go, or balancing, was October of 2021 when Sora was released. So we haven't gotten a substantial update since then. And I do think it's because they're sort of abandoning the game. And I don't think that's necessarily a bad thing. I would much rather see a direct sequel. And I love Ultimate, but I think this is the final screams of a dying game. And because of that, I'm glad that Melee is still around. I know that there's a lot of previous Melee elitists that would complain about Brawl the entire time, and I'm sure in that era it was really annoying, and I even like Brawl. I think I like playing it more than Melee. I don't know how true what I just said is. Maybe it's true. I don't know. I haven't played both of them in a while. I've been playing mods mostly. Nintendo's gonna sue me next.
Oh yeah, no, honestly, I got into Melee kind of recently, and I think it's because I decided to just like, okay, I'm gonna pick a character and just try and get good at them.
Yeah, I prefer it as a spectator sport, but I do like playing it with friends.
Yeah. I'm a big Marth guy. I feel like Marth is
interesting.
I don't know, because like Ness is my favorite character in 4 and Ultimate, but obviously like he's not that good in Melee. Like he's not fun to play, at least for me.
That's the thing about Melee, is that when you see people like playing competitively, they're moving so quickly and swift. Damn, he's crushing that thing. But like when you're playing the game and you don't really understand the movement, it feels clunky. Like it honestly feels a lot slower than. But
that's one reason that I don't think I'd ever really want to get good at Melee, is just because, you know, it is kind of a sluggish game, all things considered, but it's built around, but because of like a lot of exploits and techs and stuff like that, you can make it a pretty like fast and dynamic experience. But what that necessitates is learning all of these very specific frame perfect tricks I don't know. I mean, I like I don't like trying to practice getting like wave dashing properly every time or L canceling properly. Beyond just the whole fact that I'm in a fighting game, it just seems that there's a lot of very intricate things you have to do, which looks cool for a pro, but I don't know. I've never found it very inviting.
Mm-hmm. All I was saying is that I'm glad that Melee continues to have that longevity and stick around, because as much as I love Ultimate and prefer playing Ultimate to those other older Smash games, and I think it's the best to play, that the way it works now, I mean, at this tournament we saw the schedule for Supernova, they still had 64, they still had Brawl. I don't know if people are still playing 4. I don't know if
Nah,
4 is
probably not that
anywhere in
much.
here. That the more modern games or anything past Melee has its shelf life when it's the newest game and then is replaced. It's the same thing with Street Fighter. You play either the new Street Fighter or Street Fighter 2. Those are the ones that still have major tournaments, and Melee is sort of that Street Fighter 2, just without all the upgrades and subtitles. And I think there's value in having that game continue to be around. But I ultimately don't care about the longevity of Smash Ultimate, because although I do love this game, I don't really need there to be more Smash Ultimate. I need there to be new Smash.
Mm.
I think my answer for whether Steve should get banned or not is I don't really have a dog in this race, but as someone who doesn't play it, I don't think it's that big of a deal, and I don't think Steve is necessarily winning these tournaments, and also I like the idea of not banning any characters. But they're not
Yeah, I
going to
mean, I
update
guess.
the game anyway.
Yeah, I mean, theoretically, I mean, it would be better to have a game with no banned characters than a game with banned characters. Like, at
Yeah.
least in terms of, I don't know, there's something more holistic about, or there's something more complete feeling about a game that's able to let all of its characters be played. Although that's only kind of me evaluating the game in theory as opposed to in practice. And I guess the real question is, does having Steve be playable make this experience worse? And I don't know. I mean, I guess you'd have to ask the players how they feel about it. I feel like at the end of the day, they're the ones that like they'll vote with their participation in some ways. Like if they do ban Steve or whatever, and that somehow makes a lot more people willing to play because Steve was just so unfun. I mean, that'll tell us something. Otherwise, if people just get sick of playing without Steve, that's a whole other thing. I think that's more important than the idea of just like it being better to have no banned characters in theory.
I think it
But
is maybe just hard to tell if a character actually is overpowered or if there's just a character that people don't like that is winning and they don't know how to beat
mhm.
that character. Because I will say, like
Yeah,
you said as an example, like, oh, if there's less people that show up, this is not only the largest turnout for Melee specifically. I don't know if it is for the other Smash games. It could just be the largest box office for any Smash event or Smash exclusive event. But if Steve is getting younger people to play the game competitively, then I don't know if that's definitely a net positive or a net negative. I think there could be, I'm not saying it's all sour grapes. I'm sure Steve is annoying to play against. But I think it's also possible that there are a large, very vocal subsect of people that are just upset that they're losing to these young guys who play a character they don't like.
perhaps. But I mean, I don't know. I don't know how much age actually plays a factor into this.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, at the end of the day, I mean, it seems, at least from my perspective, that at the very least, the finals weren't two Steves. So
Mm-hmm.
it seems that the character selection of the game is dynamic enough that like Steve isn't really the only option. And if someone's if the other person is playing Steve, there are answers to it other than another Steve.
Yeah.
So
I don't
I
think it's
definitely
nearly as
don't.
bad as Bayonetta or even Meta Knight.
Yeah, it seems that Steve in general like isn't as dominating of a force. So I mean, I definitely he doesn't seem like anything that much worse than what we've had in the past.
So final consensus is that I don't think we have very strong opinions on who does and
Yeah,
doesn't get banned in Smash Ultimate.
there's a good video about it. I was talking about it before the stream,
Oh,
just
you gotta
about kind
link
of
that. I want to
talking.
check that out.
It's like an hour and a half to 2 hours, basically just about how like Steve is just kind of sucks.
Mm-hmm. I think primarily in Smash, it's less about what characters are good and more about what characters are fun to watch as a spectator sport. And I think the reason like I might be equating it to sour grapes is because I remember this happened with a lot of Melee characters that people don't like. Your Jigglypuffs, your Yoshis, your Donkey Kongs that like, oh, they're not playing the game right. That it's just like, okay, you just don't like this character. But
Yeah.
I think more it's just an important moment in the timeline of potential new Smash that we're recounting, we're repeating the story of Smash 4. And I think as far as the things I wanted to cover from the 2 previous weeks, that is everything. Is there anything that happened that you wish to cover before we wrap things up here today?
There was I mean, I can't talk about the economics of it.
Okay.
But there was like Nintendo is doing price increases on a lot of its stuff on the Switch, on the Switch Lite, on the Switch 2. Oh, not the Switch 2, but a lot of their stuff they're like increasing the MSRP on them. And that's kind of crazy. I don't know if it's because of the tariffs. But it's
Yeah, I think it was
a little
pushed
bit
back to
sad.
like around now, just so people would
Yeah,
stop
that might be
talking about
why.
it.
So, but that might be it. But yeah, so now like the Switch 1 is like $400, which at that point just,
Damn.
put down another 50 and get a Switch 2.
Mm-hmm.
But I don't know, it seems kind of late for that, especially because basically everything else in the gaming industry like loses value over time. So this is
Yeah.
kind of like a weird exception that they're trying to make something more expensive than it's been before.
It felt sort of back and forth with the launch of the Switch 2, that before it actually came out, we were all in the or not well, we were in the tabs at midnight, like, oh shit, I gotta file through all these different links, and I gotta make sure I get my pre-order because remember the shortages for the Wii and the Switch. It's like, oh, I gotta get this. And then when it actually came out, there wasn't really a shortage. Like, I don't think there was an abundance, but I think if you didn't pre-order, I mean, you didn't pre-order, you could have just walked into a store, even if it wasn't the midnight release, and probably just buy one.
Yeah.
Like, I know friends that did that. Like, a week after, they're like, I want to play Mario Kart, I'll just go get it. That I was like,
Yeah.
oh man, like, although I wanted to do the launch event for more of a stream reason and a historical reason, I was like, oh, I guess I really didn't need to get the console at launch. Like, I didn't need to make sure I snatched it up. But now, because of that, I'm like, oh, I guess I am glad I got it at launch because that's the cheapest it was ever going to be, or at least for the coming
Yeah.
years. So I'm glad I did get that early.
Well, I mean, yeah, because I feel like you can get a pre-owned Switch for pretty cheap. So it's weird that they're doing it specifically with the older stuff. I mean, I don't know why. I don't know if it's to disincentivize people from getting the older stuff.
Squeeze that last bit of money out of the
It-
Switch One.
yeah, I don't know. It's weird because I don't know. I can't imagine someone buying a Switch 1 now. You know what I mean? I mean, I guess like if someone really wants a Nintendo console and is willing to pay 300 but not 500, I mean, maybe that's it, but I don't know. It just seems like a weird time to do it.
There's a Rhythm
And
Heaven fan out there that was waiting the entire time for there to be a
I'm
new
not
Rhythm
buying
Heaven.
until there's a Rhythm Heaven. Yeah.
And now that it's got announced for the Switch One, they're ready to buy the Switch One so they could play Rhythm Heaven.
And then yeah, I mean, I think they also are increasing like the Pro controller, the Joy-Cons and stuff, and that's the really sucky stuff because I don't have a Switch 2 Pro controller yet, and I think
Ooh.
that price went up, and it's now like $95. It's like, okay, that's a little bit insane.
Yeah.
I'm kind of I think I'm just gonna stick with
Controllers-
my original Switch.
Yeah, controllers have a lot of bells and whistles, but I feel like it's very seldom worth it. Like, every time I complain about this, I get people in my chat or my comments that are like, oh, you just gotta charge it, man. But they don't realize that this isn't a problem for any other console. Say what you will about the controller and having the cool screen and the haptic feedback. I'm almost pretty sure, I was about to say certain, I don't know about that. This might be hyperbole. That every time I've ever streamed a PS5 game, my controller has died while I'm streaming. That has not happened
Wow.
with Xbox. Maybe it's happened once or twice, but it never happens. With the Switch, it never happens. But like almost every time I've streamed the PS5 while I was streaming, the controller just dies.
Does
And I
it
think,
go from 100 to 0 in like 3 hours? 'Cause that's insane.
I mean, it's got that light. It glows when you play it. Noises come from it. It's like a Wiimote. It's got that haptic
Wow.
feedback. I think because it has so many bells and whistles, it just drains its own battery so much faster.
That's a shame.
Yeah, and every time I bring it up, they're like, "Oh, dude, you gotta plug it in to charge it." It's like, yeah, I know that. It doesn't happen with any other console that it dies this quickly.
Yeah, shit. That's a
It's-
shame.
I mean, I like Astrobot. I'll keep playing Astrobot. I'll let you know if they announce another game for the PS5.
But you'll have to charge your PS5 controller.
I should just
or
have a
play
bunch
with
on
it plugged
standby.
in.
That's what I do
Yeah,
with my
right.
my camera, my Sony camera, is that I have the
Oh, that's
battery
hilarious.
pack in it, and whenever it dies, I have a backup battery pack that's charging, so I switch it out like I'm reloading a gun, and then put the other one in the charge, because otherwise I'm just waiting like an hour for it to reach full charge again, where I'm just not recording.
That's funny.
It helps. I would highly recommend.
Yeah, it's resourceful though. It's resourceful.
But as far as so I need just a line of PS5 controls. As far as the lineup of the show goes, next episode I will be discussing Drag X Drive. I'm gonna do my best to play it and other Switch 2 exclusives. And then the time after that, the week after that, I think I want to get prepared for the new Kirby by discussing Kirby lore, because this is very important
Okay.
stuff and there's a lot going on there. And then that Thursday, Kirby Forgotten Land Switch 2 Edition Starcross World comes out. So the pod after, and give my thoughts on that. And then the pod after, I guess Daemon X Machina 2. I don't know why I still have this written down. I guess I'm going to play that. I don't know. I may have locked it in already. And then we have about 5 pods where nothing's really happening. And then there's the pod after Pokemon Legends Arceus. So maybe something will happen in between them. Maybe there'll just be a random Nintendo Switch Online release like there was with the Mario Paint. Maybe we'll have more guests. But for right now, although I didn't expect
Probably
there to be a direct
by then.
yeah, because that'll be like September. Yeah, probably.
Yeah, I assume they're probably doing something. So that's probably what's gonna occupy us.
Yeah,
for
because
those
again,
kinds
we
of,
don't have release dates for Kirby Air Riders or Metroid Prime 4, which might just get delayed till next year. We shall see. But until then, there is nothing else you want to cover for this, right?
Nah, I'm good. I'm good.
How's Pockettail Island going?
I've been working. I mean, I've already been working on it a lot, but I've been making kind of just been working on it a lot. Fortunately, got like a lot of extra progress on it yesterday because I, didn't have to do as much.
Nice.
Had to do less than usual, so I kind of was able to focus on that. So I'm happy about that.
I have the same amount of like work hours I give myself each day. And what I used to do with these pods is like work half of it before and then half of it after. But I was just getting tired and I was like, oh, I want to do more research before the pod starts. So now I have to start my work day when this pod ends. So I'll just stay up a little later and hopefully get the next thing done. I want to announce it maybe halfway through the month. I'm still waiting to get back some footage from some people, so we shall see. But I guess I didn't really talk about my total drama video that came out between pods because we didn't really have the time to talk about it. But that is I'm glad people are responding to it. I'm really surprised at how many people wanted to see the entire Total Pokemon Island section, because I'm glad that people feel like that. But also, while I was editing it, it was like longer than the video itself. And I know that there were a lot of negative reactions to the pod racing gameplay section from the Phantom Menace video and the horror game video that ended up being a lot of gameplay sections and thus making it a longer video. And I know my fans love to see more, but just as far as those comments go, I was like, okay, I have to at some point start editing stuff out. That's the first time I had ever cut anything out of a video.
I'm at that point now where like, it's been fun being really, really, really thorough and just saying everything I feel like is worth saying. But I think after this video, I'm going to start, really thinking about what's worth. Because, I mean, okay, so one of the big things that happens while working on videos now is that I like spend like an hour. I'll spend like an hour to edit like 6 seconds of video, okay? And the 6 seconds are me cracking a joke that isn't even that funny. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And it's like I'm starting to kind of, well, I've been at this kind of conclusion. I'm kind of really starting to eat it where I'm like, yeah, sometimes I think I should just not if it's not that like biting or fun, it might just be worth kind of leaving it out because I'll save myself time and it's not like anyone's gonna miss this joke. It's not like I'm even gonna miss this joke that much. Occasionally, I mean, there have been a couple times, while editing, I've been like, okay, yeah, I think this line just isn't really working out because something that you write down and think is funny, like in your script, might not be as funny once you've kind of added it to a video, you've recorded it and stuff. So that's a thing. Occasionally, I'll cut out lines because of that. But a lot of the times, the line is still kind of important to the logic of how I'm summarizing the show, so I kind of have to leave it in anyway, or I'll have to like re-record some other lines. So usually I'll just leave it in because of that. But I think I'm going to start being more thorough with how I edit because I don't know, I think it's like especially if my whole video, the majority of it is something that's kind of just like on the sidelines, like what Total Pokemon Island seems to be,
Yeah.
It's like it's kind of I mean, it could make a great video on its own, but it's
I mean, it wasn't me like in front of a green screen like talking about it. It was the segment of me watching through it. So I've decided to cut those down by a couple hours every week and then have them be Patreon exclusive videos. And then maybe when the entire thing's done, I'll put it on the bonus channel. I'm starting to kind of feel more and more or sour towards the idea of the bonus channel because there are things that it's making it less so I'm like making stuff exclusive for the Patreon or even making TikToks because I'm like, oh, I gotta put something on the bonus channel, so I'll do this for this instead. That like behind the scenes features used to be a TikTok thing and I just haven't been posting over there. And beyond, I think this year I've really understood the appeal of having specific exclusives because before just like, oh, every now and then you get the uncensored version. But this year I really hope the Total Drama video surpasses the Barnyard one because I was really disappointed with how many hoops I had to jump through to get around that copyright that I think it's kind
Uh-huh.
of bordering on unwatchable on YouTube. I know other people don't feel that way, but I'm glad that there's a
Yeah.
non-red version of that on Patreon. Same goes with Fantastic Four. And then for the Total Drama video, I had the original 360p project file that I posted over there because I want there to be exclusives. And I might look into actually start producing exclusive content over there because for the longest time, I was going off of, oh, I'm making enough on the videos I make each month to, get me by so I can continue making them. But not all the videos do the same amount every month, so it's not as consistent.
Yeah.
So I think it would be better if I could have my consistent payout from something like Patreon and get people their money's worth. And that's also what we've been doing with the Patreon Discord is not only do you get to, I want to do more streams where we stream with the patrons that so they have an opportunity to do so because I feel like I've grown really close to a lot of them because you talk to people every week. At a certain point you're just going to develop a friendship, and I think a lot of those
Yeah.
guys are really cool, and that's why I've been trying to give a lot of them jobs just working on editing stuff that I don't want to edit. And there might be some of that in the Patreon as well, but I also want to have like collaboration videos where they have the opportunity to do that. I just want to incentivize more people to flock to that Patreon, so I want to make more content for it. But as far as
For
like
sure.
cutting down videos a little bit, I did really like, it's not a short video, the Total Drama video, but it got a lot of attention on it from just being like an hour and a half. And not that I would purposefully cut down my scripts, but having like an 80-page script so I can only work on weekdays like Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday over 4 weeks, so like 16 days, and then let's say 5 pages a day, so that over the 10-hour workday I only have to do half a page, which saves me a lot of time. It's like 80 pages. So maybe as I get more and more into this, if I get past 80 pages, I'll be like, all right, time to cut this in two. My issue is that I plan out the entire year, so I can't be like, oh, next month will be the part 2 of this thing. It's like, oh shit, I got to come back to this in a year's time. But I'm hoping
Hmm.
to finish a lot of series this year, like I did with the Kids' Choice Awards. Now Bray Wyatt is out of my hands, and a Smash Ultimate hype cycle is almost finished. I want to get this third and final part so we can move on to potentially greener pastures when it comes to Smash Bros. Or greener Smashers. And there's other series I've started, but I'm more partial to the framing devices. Like outside of talking about Total Drama, I really like the framing device of the Total Drama video I made, Total Drama Island Online, and talking about YouTube videos or the internet culture or fandom at the time. And I know a lot of people already do that, but I'm hoping to do that with other things. There's a lot of things I want to do, and maybe I'll change my mind on other stuff, but I'm going to try and cut that down a little bit. Maybe. Let's see if I stick to my answer, because earlier this year or like late last year, I'm like, no, I'm going to start cutting them down. I'm going to do like 11 videos a year, and then 10, and then 9, and then 8, and slowly go down and down and down. But then there's like months come by where I don't have anything planned. I'm like, I want to make a video. Let me get this in real quick. So I hope to, one, have a
uh,
support system over on Patreon, or two, have a beefy enough library that I can get by without having to necessarily make a huge video like that every month. Because at a certain point, not to be egotistical about it, but at a certain point on the internet, you sort of just get famous for being famous. Like you get paid to just
uh-huh.
exist, about the potential that you might make something. And
I
times
hope
are
that's
tough
true.
for everyone right now. I hope me and all my friends get to that point. I think, without announcing what the next thing I'm working on is, oh, we'll see it soon, maybe. And we're going to keep doing our intermiddle Pockettail Island updates. And then one of these days it's going to drop. And we're going to be like, well, we've been building up to this the entire time. Oh, that's something, or I don't have
Yeah.
to discuss it, but real quick, that I wanted to say earlier when we were talking about how weird the direct felt when it did come out. Not the new directs, but the April direct. And I feel like that's been something we've been following this entire year, especially on this show, is how thrown together this year feels for Nintendo. Not from like a game standpoint, but the sneak peek of the Switch 2 happened like a couple weeks or maybe a week after someone was like, oh, this is the release date, I'm going to leak it. And then all
Hmm.
the sneak peek did was announce the day of the direct. And then before the Switch 2 direct came out, they like, oh, there's also a Switch 1 direct. It feels like they were kind of unprepared for this. And the year's
Yeah,
a
it feels
little
like they've been on the
lackluster.
back foot this entire year. I mean, that's probably why Prime 4 is like still kind of up in the air. I wouldn't be surprised if it's just straight up delayed, as we talked about earlier. And
Yeah.
if not, I mean, it's better if it's not. But it just, yeah, it seems that things didn't go entirely as planned, or something kind of had to be rushed ahead, something had to be rushed backwards,
Mm-hmm. So,
or maybe potentially
no?
they wanted the Switch 2 out earlier, but they couldn't do it. So they kind of had to mishmash a few things together, or the other way around. I don't know. It definitely, like, the fact that they like did a Switch 1 and a Switch 2 direct like days apart just seems beyond the pale. It seems like a thing that like no company would ever want to do. You know what I mean?
I think they're maybe trying to avoid the 2017, 2018 Nintendo Directs that were mostly focused on Switch games, but then also like they would announce 3DS games in there because some of the
Hmm.
last 3DS games that come out for that console did really, really poorly. I mean, it's why Alpha Dream folded to begin with, is that Bowser's Inside Story remake that came out in 2019, I think. It didn't do very well on a console you can already play Bowser's Inside Story. But so many of those 3DS games, I think it might be better to separate the Switch 1 and the Switch 2 directs, which is probably why a lot of this partner direct and indie direct felt lackluster, was that it was both of them, and some of them were Switch games. But we've talked too much about it. I think now is the time for us to end this pod. And until next week, I have been your co-parent, BH Ultra.
And I have been your co-parent, Switchy.
And I believe we've covered everything. Who knows? Maybe next week, maybe Drag X Drive will be the next biggest game. Maybe next week there'll be a ton of leaked information. Maybe our Mega
Sleeper
Evolutions
hit.
will get revealed. Maybe those, we got to finish those edits at some point. We'll see where it lies. But
All
thank you for joining me for this. I'm about to hang up in about, I'm really anal
right.
about the time. It's about to be exactly 2 hours and 5 minutes in about 5 seconds. So I'm stretching this
Okay.
out as long as possible. All right, I'm hanging up. Thank you.